Cole Tipple.
Hello, and welcome aboard the good ship Saladcast on Sunday the 18th of November 2018. I'm your Captain Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
No, you didn't give me a nautical thing.
No.
I was expecting first mate or something.
First mate and responsible for the rigging of the ship,
Yeah, exactly.
Zachary Burgess.
Like, that probably has a specific... That's not even like... There's probably
Rigmaster General. Yeah.
Probably a specific actual name for that, for the person who does manages the rigging.
And also, I don't know, cabin boy Rob Kemp.
Yep, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
I was Master at Arms, maybe? Like, I'm managing all this audio gunpowder.
Indeed.
All the booms come from me.
Well,
But
we haven't got the booms,
Exactly
that's the
zero of
problem.
the booms come from you.
Oh dear.
We're back to the chair rigging.
Yeah, the mic stands didn't arrive. I
No.
ordered them quite late, in fairness.
And even more chair rigging now that Dan's actually here. So we have all three of them.
Yeah,
Triple rigged.
and not one of us wearing headphones.
I didn't quite get a sense last time of... You tried to describe this situation, but seeing the full majesty is quite something.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to put that photo on the website so you listeners can check out the insanity of this setup.
One time we've actually included a photo of a Saladcast, I suppose.
Oh, on a Saladcast. There's been other photos on our webpage.
Yeah, sure, you in a white coat.
Yep.
For some reason. With your Infinifactory badge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, was the white coat itself a gift?
No,
thing?
that's
That was
actual,
just that's your actual lab coat, which you used when?
When I'm in labs.
When were you last in a lab?
Actually, I guess the last time I was in the lab, they had boiler suits, not lab coats. So
Ah.
didn't actually get to use my lab coat.
So when did you get to use it last?
I don't know.
That was it, probably.
Oh, for the
that
Infinifactory,
photo,
yeah.
obviously.
Well, that is very important for the Infinifactory champion photo.
That lab coat doesn't even actually really fit me, so you know.
What? All that trouble and it doesn't fit?
Well, it never fit me from the start. So when I got that lab coat, I think I actually purchased it from the shop at university because I was like, oh shit, I need a lab coat. Then I went in there, it's like, I don't know how big one of these I'm going to need. So
Was there like a chemistry department shop for lab coats?
Yeah,
Or can you get them from the student union?
they have specific equipment available to buy on campus.
Convenient. Was it a rip-off? Or is it like...
No, I think it was okay. Although, cheap, obviously. Cheap-ass lab coats.
cheap ass?
I mean, where else would you get your lab supplies from? Like, it's not like you go down to
That's
your
what I'm wondering.
local
Well,
labster.
I'm sure there is, online now, there'll be...
online.
Some main wholesale place that just does all lab shit.
But then how are you
Like
getting...
glassware and all kinds of other crap.
Yeah, but how are you going to get the right size lab coat if you just order online?
Yeah, you don't know, actually no. Although, the standard size is just like large, medium, small, or whatever.
You just
So
roll the
simple.
sleeves up, right? That's how health and safety works with lab coats.
And yet, even by buying it in a physical shop, you still manage to get the size wrong.
Well, you didn't actually get to try it on.
Oh, I see.
Sealed package.
Okay,
Or whatever.
right.
But I think the problem is more I'm probably somewhere in between medium and large. Like, medium is usually too small, but large can be too big, depending on the manufacturer. I
Right.
guess.
Lab coats.
But with lab coats, it's better to go slightly too small anyway, obviously. Because you don't want any dangling.
Yeah, dangling is bad when you're surrounded by acid or whatever, alkali, bad stuff.
Yeah.
There's not many circumstances where dangling is a particularly desirable outcome, right?
Apart from for these mics.
I mean, are they dangling really? Like, or are they're suspended?
They'd be dangling if they weren't attached by a piece of sellotape as well.
Would it be like they would need some sort of, for a dangle? I think there needs to be some sort of wobble to it. There needs to be a swing.
These can definitely wobble.
Yeah, that's true.
You just have to near it. The semantics of dangling.
What's the actual definition of dangling?
Merriam-Webster. Fine.
Oh, we're back in word corner.
Didn't take us long.
Etymology corner.
It's the dangle angle. What's your dangle angle? Actually, no.
Yeah, don't even go into that.
No.
Yeah, now we're in that corner.
No. Everyone sip their drink simultaneously. For some good air.
Well, we got to get through it. Get through the drinks at the start first. Because obviously we're not going to do that before the podcast. That would be far too professional.
No, yeah, you need to space out the caffeine is the idea, right? So, like, if I was to drink down my coffee immediately, like, the caffeine would probably be wearing out towards the end of the video.
I think that's
audio video.
The
podcast.
I think that's likely to happen anyway. This podcast is like 2.5 hours. I don't know how long your coffee lasts.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, what is the actual proper...
The half-life of coffee.
Yeah, the half-life of coffee.
You could look it up, I believe.
Probably.
Well, I know that there's something about, like, actually, like, if you have a coffee in the first thing in the morning, it's like it's completely pointless, is supposedly the physiology of how your brain is already releasing the chemical to wake yourself up.
Right.
That you adding caffeine to the mix actually doesn't do anything to speed that up, supposedly. Yep. So you should wait till mid-morning before having your first coffee.
Yeah, I do that anyway, though. Who drinks coffee before they, like, leave the house?
I mean, I guess I have done.
Right. Rob technically doesn't leave the house, but yes.
I mean, like, sometimes I've gone gone to park run or something, and then I've had, like, breakfast and a coffee, like, but
I mean, for, like, work, commuting purposes.
No, that's true, I suppose. Well, I mean, I guess sometimes I'll take, like, a travel cup of coffee, like, if I'm doing a drive.
Yeah, some people buy and drink on the train or whatever. I see some people do that. But, yeah, it's best to wait until you arrive at work, and by that point it's like virtually mid-morning.
Yeah.
If you check your email and then go get your coffee 9:30, that's fine.
Yeah, you've been awake a couple of hours if you're commuting that far, so it's...
Yeah, maybe. Well, arguably awake.
Yeah.
Zombie mode.
The commuter shuffle.
The commuter mode.
Yeah, and then you have your first coffee, and then you get buzzing. And then the first hour of the day goes really slowly because you're buzzing. And then you like look at the clock and it's like, oh, what? I've done all this work and it's only 1 hour has passed. Ah, balls. Yep. A whole day left. I've timed this very wrong.
Time to go for lunch.
Yeah. What? It's a 10 o'clock lunch? Oh. I have my lunch just super late at the moment. Like,
well, you have your dinner super late, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah. It's like so late in my like work day as well, so it's not like I don't know. Some people do that thing where they like have to have lunch like exactly halfway through their day, so it's like their break is right in the middle, and it's like no, mine's at like 3.
Oh, blimey, that's a bit late.
Start my lunch at 3, like, and then
I'm dying if I ate at 3.
So I finish at like 4, and then I've got like only an hour's left of work.
Oh right, okay.
You don't actually do any work because you're recovering.
So you actually end work at 3.
Well, you've got like you got like you can't really start any big jobs at that point.
Oh, what a shame.
So you do a lot of little jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You actually answer some emails. If you haven't been procrastinating from reading your email for the rest of the day. So what's been happening, yo? What's been happening in your kitchen? Nothing. Like no more explosions of the electrical appliance kind? No. Great. How about them Black Friday sales? There's nothing going on there.
I don't understand this Black Friday thing.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
It's an American
but it's
thing.
But some of the sales have already started, and it's really annoying me because it's just like nothing I'm after is on sale.
It's never going to be good if they spread it over a whole week. The whole point was it was a single day.
Yeah,
like
you got to compress all those deals into one ridiculous thing.
Where everyone goes insane and smashes each other while they're trying to get it.
Or ultimately, you could.
Well, I think they're trying to be a little bit, considerate in this country, so people don't, murder themselves.
And has therefore ruined the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's not our thing to start with.
No,
it was ruined by the fact that it existed in this country to start with.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, everyone likes a sale, but
yeah, but don't call it Black Friday. Or I guess Black Friday technically doesn't have anything to do with Thanksgiving.
No, it's just that it happened to be there, and then they gave it a name. Like, isn't it like it's called Black because it's when everyone's books go into the black, having been in
economics.
Supposedly. I mean, I guess if you've got this far into the year and you're still in the red, you probably had a pretty crappy year, right?
Don't know how the economics works.
Everything's breaking even. It's not unless you're making hella profits.
Unless they go into the red just before Black Friday because they're buying all their goods for Black Friday.
And then Black Friday they sell all so it goes back to black. That'd be a bit weird.
That is a strange tactic, yeah. It's like, hey, we were in profit, but then we bought all this gear.
The alternative is if you want to have weeks of sales, you have to do the what was the Penny Arcade joke of just make up other dumb names for other days of it's like Cyber Thursday.
It's Cyber Monday, isn't it?
It's Cyber Monday.
No, it's I can't remember what the other ones were. It's like Web Wednesday. I can't remember the other ones, but they had, and then there was just
Turbulent Tuesday.
Yeah, it's just these terrible names because obviously Black Friday is terrible. So you just like you have to make up other and Cyber Monday equally bad. So it's like let's make up these other dumb so we can have them say last the whole week. Just real bad names.
You see, Cyber Monday, I guess, is the even weirder one, right? So presumably that only existed as the best selling day because everyone went out on Friday, like physically, to go buy their stuff. And then we're like, oh, I wonder if anything's left, and went online.
And then went online on the Monday for sale on online products from retailers.
Because people don't go on the internet over the weekend.
Yeah, because all cyber retail shuts down over the weekend. Obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Obviously. Opening hours, right?
There's no one there to take their order.
No, there's just nobody there. So.
Yeah. Everyone's at home.
You have to wait until Monday morning. Yeah. Everyone knows that.
On the weekend. Yeah, I don't know. I was getting all excited. I want all kinds of stuff. I want more crazy lighting for the house. I want motion sensors for things.
Really?
And a sensor so we could stop leaving the fridge open accidentally. And
that's not a problem with a sensor. That's a problem with your fridge being bad.
But there is that. It's not one of those fridges that has like a buzzer in it.
No. Our freezer has one of those. It's very loud.
Is it really?
And I think it happens like a bit too quickly. Like you can just be looking through the freezer and
it's like
take too long. And it's like
yeah.
I was just deciding what I wanted out of it.
It's quite a big freezer. There's a lot of stuff to look through.
There's a bit of you need some rummaging time.
My housemate opens the fridge and lets it go to the beep and then just carries on. But even worse, she's discovered there's a button that silences the beep, so she just presses the button and continues to leave the door open.
The button that triggers the light, the whole
maybe
mechanical button on the door hinge of the fridge
to pretend it's closed, but then the light's going to go out.
Well, you only have to just push it for a second, don't you? Because then that will set the timer on the beep. Presumably.
That's true.
If it's badly designed, anyway.
Yeah, it depends if it's like temperature monitoring, like if the temperature, like some fridges do on freezers. So if it drops below a certain level, it's like, oh no, or drops above, I suppose. Drops above,
I guess.
And the cooling factor drops below a certain threshold. No. Is there a way of measuring the cooling factor, or is it just like
probably
a degree drop?
Well, the degree drop is essentially because conveniently I've literally just been learning, or not really learning, using these numbers in Oxygen Not Included because the heating and cooling in that is based on real physics, where it's like specific heat capacity and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah.
Cooling is just a heat transfer, right? So you can measure that in terms of heat or power, presumably.
Yeah, you have thermal conductivity and specific heat capacity in Oxygen Not Included. So if you have a high specific heat capacity, that means you can put more heat into some like per kilogram, and then the other conductivity is just like how fast it goes.
I suppose I just wondered if there was like some kind of nonsense marketing term that they would slap on a fridge to say, "Hey, this is the most coolerific freezer we've ever made."
I mean, you don't want it to overcool your food. You just want it to maintain the right temperature.
No, you want fast cooling.
I guess.
Get to temperature quickly.
And stay there.
But that doesn't... It's like that only happens once, or when you open the door, I guess.
Yeah.
I suppose that's reflected in the efficiency racing, maybe. Like, you want
to...
like,
imagine efficiency ratings are based more on like how much power it uses.
Yeah, I know, but there's like surely like the... it gets cold and it uses less to get there.
Well, it'd be insulation would be the important one, right? Yeah. How much it keeps the cold inside, so it doesn't have to constantly cool it.
Lots of the Sparkington terms.
Fridges.
Indeed.
They're in the kitchen.
Preservative.
Kind of.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yours in the kitchen. I was about to say, somebody put them in that little side room, don't they? It's like, I've got to go away to get to the fridge.
Yeah, ours isn't technically in the kitchen.
Isn't it?
It's in the back room. That's
thought-
technically just an extension of the kitchen because the door is never ever closed.
Oh, so what's in that? Didn't you have a little? I thought there was like a special fridge hole in
Yes,
your
there
kitchen.
was. That was when we had a much smaller fridge that it could fit in that hole.
In the fridge hole.
Yes, the fridge cupboard. Terrible idea. I don't know why you would do that.
What's in there now? A cupboard.
No, that's where the vacuum cleaner goes.
Okay.
Which is convenient, I
In the
guess.
fridge hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in case you have some kind of rice disaster in the kitchen, it's just like, oh, rice everywhere. At least the vacuum's right here.
Well, where else are you going to put a vacuum?
Closet,
What closet?
vacuum closet.
That is what that is now, though. That is
But you've got another closet like 2 feet away.
What, you mean the larder? That's a different thing.
Well, you've got
That's where the food goes.
you've got a larder. Okay, not just cupboards.
I suppose the vacuum... Did the vacuum go in there? I'm trying to remember what it was like before we even had the fridge cupboard that had the fridge in it. And then, like, where was the vacuum at that point? I don't even remember. We had a much smaller vacuum back then, I guess. It wasn't like... That was before the age of Dyson. Where every vacuum is upright.
And before the extension as well, I guess.
Well, the first iteration of the extension, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe,
Oh, it might have
maybe
been-
that's where it was.
the corrugated plastic extension.
Yeah. The extension that actually was just an extension, not just a whole another chunk of a house.
Bit of house, yeah. Bit of house. Man, I can't even, like, as a homeowner, a bit of me can't even, like, fathom the sort of concept of doing, like, major, like, works like that to your house. It's like, I bet we barely call people in to, like, fix things. Like,
Well, that's more of a problem of, like, you probably should call people in to fix things.
they're so expensive, man.
Yeah, but how much money did you spend on this house in total?
I mean, a lot,
Yeah.
but it's like, but it, like, when it cost nearly 200, well, more than 200 quid to get, like those windows fixed that couldn't bloody open.
That
You know, the ones-
doesn't
'cause
sound very expensive for fixing windows, to be honest.
What, for a tiny little plastic catch?
Well, if you're
Admittedly, the whole thing
if
had to
you're
be, like,
assigning the whole price to the tiny bit of plastic that you had essentially were buying, then yes, it does sound expensive.
yeah. Admittedly, the guy had to, like, take the whole thing out of the frame and then,
Rebuild it.
yeah, redo the arms, effectively, and then reattach it all. And I mean, it took him some time, but not too much time.
How many hours? How much were you
Like-
paying per hour?
Like an hour, I guess.
Time and materials.
Yeah. The tradesman.
Thing is, they have to get here
Yeah, that was
and all that.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And organise it.
Cover their van costs.
That's why MOTs are too expensive, because you're taking your car to them. That's like saving half the money.
Yeah, it's true.
And then they're also going to probably like run your car and burn some of your petrol.
Outrage.
Do they have to do that for the MOT?
Presumably.
Probably.
They have to make sure the engine actually works.
Yeah.
I guess.
And isn't well,
and all the electrics that are related to turning on.
yeah, because they've got. Have they got to do like a little bit of an emissions test as well now?
I don't know if
Isn't that part of it?
Mm,
Like, just to make sure like your catalytic converter and stuff is all working
maybe.
properly, and
yeah,
How long can you go without an MOT?
a year, because they
yeah, they
have
last.
to do it every
They
year.
Do it
last
every
a-
year?
Yep.
Jeez.
It's attached to your insurance.
I think unless your car is like
a certain
it's like
age or whatever.
3 years or something, like the first 3 years of its life, it's like it's MOT.
It's okay.
But yeah, after that, it's every year. And I get mine serviced every year as well, just to be sure. Which is why it's running so smooth after all these years. So smooth. Get your car serviced, it's worth it.
Is it though? Because like, if you didn't have it done for 1 year, would you even notice? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, it's like when you take your car to the garage, you always get in it afterwards and think, this feels different. And it's probably just the chair, right? It's
Yeah, there's
just,
probably someone else who sat in your car
Like, even
and
after you-
adjusted things slightly.
even after you've adjusted the chair back, someone's like done that, but even after you've adjusted it back to your position, it's like something still feels different, right?
The smell.
The smell.
Another person who's been in here. And you can detect it.
The air of mechanic. Someone's put a magic tree in there that's just mechanic stench. Other air fresheners are available, I'm sure.
Is Magic Tree even a brand? I don't know. Or is that just
Yeah,
the
I think
generic
I think it
name,
is.
shape of air fresheners?
No, I think it is a brand. You get like what are those like fancy jelly babies called? You know what I mean? They're like, is it Jelly Belly?
No, that's the jelly beans.
Yeah, no, I mean literally that brand.
Oh, right, okay.
Because they do like
Those aren't Jelly
Air Fresh.
Babies. You're not even...
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, Jelly
Babies are
not like Round Trees or whatever. It was. Like,
That's not even the right company either.
Is it not? Is it Nestle Jelly
It's
Babies?
Bassett's.
Oh yeah,
Still.
Bassett's. God, yeah, I forget about Bassett. Although that's all Nestle.
Oh, yeah, technically.
Yeah,
Now it is.
Nestle.
Everyone gets bought wherever.
yeah. But then
Until
there's
there's only one left, and then I guess there's no one.
Kraft.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unilever. The one lever that's needed for the whole world.
Well, that was convenient for them. They already made up put that in their name.
Yeah.
So when there's only one left, it'd be like, yep, it was them all along. They said it from the start.
We knew. So yeah, the Jelly Belly like air fresheners.
Yeah, dude, I know exactly what when you said it. I was like, oh yeah,
the little plastic beans,
red squidgy bean that presumably smells like something
sugary, strawberry, sugarberry. Man, I haven't found seen anywhere that sells like those like hardcore jelly bits. Do you remember that shop in Ipswich where you where we got obsessed with for a little bit because it's just like oh my gosh, those things are so good.
Well, it's because they had the proper like individual flavors.
Yeah,
so you could just get the ones that you actually wanted.
Yeah, you didn't have to buy like the selection box. You could just get all of the good stuff.
Where was that again?
It's like,
Ipswich.
I think it was like where the cheese shop now is, like sort of down near the butter market. There was like one of these little side buildings. Yeah, it was just had like nice candy.
The memorable cheeses.
Yeah, I think it might be where Memorable Cheeses now is, yeah.
Classic name for a shop.
Memorable Cheeses. And I didn't remember the memorable bit, it's just the cheese shop, so that worked.
Yeah, that didn't work at all on you.
Yeah, those things used to be amazing. They probably still are, but you just don't see them all that often.
Or you haven't been into Ipswich for how many years?
True. I don't go into tan all that often, but... Because, internet and Amazon.
The high street is dead.
I'll still go, if I need to actually go buy some clothes, I'll still, go to tan and have a look at them. That's, the one thing I do.
You don't trust the sizes of lab coats.
No, I don't.
Nice callback.
Yep.
Okay.
And I get my hair cut, of course. Can't do that over the internet.
Yeah, one day they'll solve that.
There'll be like an inverse 3D printer that you just stick on your head. And it un-3D prints your hair.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be so weird. But it's like the first step is it has to just turn your hair into like a solid lump, and then it cuts the hair out. Otherwise, how would you because I'm just thinking how 3D printers work, right? Like etch. They etch stuff into being.
All
so
it would have to do is basically be able to. It would have to be a scanner that could scan the actual shape of your head, and then from that, it wouldn't even need to know what shape your hair was. It would only need to know what it wanted to leave behind afterwards. So anything that you defined as not being in the zone.
I don't think that's going to work.
But if my hair doesn't already naturally sit in that particular formation, surely it has to melt down my hair into some kind of hair goop and then print it back on.
You wouldn't be able to do anything particularly fancy. It would just be a length adjustment. You wouldn't be able to style it. Just get rid of some number of inches.
Just gotta get under it. Gotta have all these robot arms to lift it up and get places, and it just bowl cut you every time.
Pretty much.
All right. Remind me never to go to Zach's. Get me a haircut.
Zach's 3D printing anti-inverse 3D printing hair cutting machine.
New 3D hair technology. Tress effects.
Yeah.
We've got Tress effects.
RTX on.
I'm being not a segue at all. I'm being haunted by stock sound effects.
More so than usual.
More so than usual, yeah. I'll tell you the specific example that really wound me up, right, this week. And Noam's had enough of me talking about it because it set me off on one since it happened. We were watching on Sky Arts Landscape Artist of the Year with Stephen Mangan, I think, is presenting it, and it's like Bake Off for painters.
Yeah, naturally.
But it's kind of okay, I sort of end up watching it, thinking this could be quite interesting, a little interesting window into the mind of the abstract artist. sometimes.
Sometimes abstract.
Or making the photorealist who spends months and months on a single painting suddenly forced into a situation where they've got to make something in a few hours, which they're normally not very good at, which is kind of fun. And also, what critics actually are. You're like, what are they on? What are they seeing that we don't see? Because that's pretty much every week. Like, nobody at the end go, what? What are they talking about? Because we don't know. Anyway, it was on the beach. It was on like I forget where it was. It was like some sort of seaside resort in Britain, and it was sunny and windy, and there were seagulls. And this is where the problem lies. They were playing a stock seagull sound effect repeatedly in the episode. But not only that, not only was it one that I noticed the repeat on, I noticed it immediately because it's the same seagull sound effect they use in bloody Carcassonne on the Xbox 360. And I've put so much goddamn time into that game. I recognise everything from it. And it's like, so I'm just hearing this, and then it goes into a little crowd noise in the back, and it's like, I'm just hearing it everywhere. And it's like, pretty sure it's a pretty busy beach. There's probably quite a lot of atmosphere. Like, do you really need to add seagulls everywhere?
Sound effects all over it.
Well, it's probably kind of annoying to record ambient sound on a beach because it's normally wind.
The wind, yeah, I guess. But like, I didn't really add anything to it. It was just like constant seagulls, which is really weird. Like, you could just like go up to a seagull and feed it a chip and hoping it goes brr at you. And...
Not sure that's how seagulls usually function. You don't go up to a seagull, really.
Not really, no.
I'm pretty sure you can tempt a seagull to come to you.
Yeah, that's more like what would happen.
They're not exactly timid.
They're not just like standing there, like just waiting for you to come to them and offer them food.
No, as my photo collection will attest to, I'm quite the friend of the seagull. There's almost always some sort of bird in a shot wherever I go. Anyway, that kind of annoyed me and sent me off on one. I did end up playing a bit of Carcassonne as a result.
Oh.
But
as a result of hearing a stock seagull sound effect,
I sort of had to prove it to myself that I wasn't remembering it from somewhere else. So I played some Carcassonne and was like, oh, yep, there it is. Stock sounds. They're really annoying. It's like you in the Roller Coaster Tycoon crowd noise?
Crowd noise.
Yeah.
Classic. And the birds from Settlers 2.
Oh, yeah. It's a classic.
5 Josh K comes up quite a bit.
Yeah. It's everywhere. And as we've said before, it's quite a long sample of like random chatter, isn't it? But they always use the bit at the start where it's like
yeah, they use the same bit over and over.
5 George K, 5 George K. The Wilhelm scream I will allow. What was it? We watched Molly's Game last night, didn't we? On not a film that you would expect to need much in the way of extra Foley. But there's just like a classic door opening sound effect. There's just like, I'm just like, why is that there? Did not like the fact that your posh lawyer has a squeaky door does not add to this scene. Anyway, rant over. I mean, you got to save some budget somewhere, I guess, but it's not that hard to record a door opening. You've probably heard this door open 1,000 times on this podcast, so it's... I
don't know about 1,000.
Well, it doesn't... Yeah, you're right.
Slightly
I suppose you're right. Yeah, it doesn't open like 5 times an episode.
No.
So it's... Eek! Squeaky door handle. Take 404. Eek!
It's time to transition topics to the topic of our podcast.
Kind of. I'm sure some of this news might be about video games.
Some of it.
It's time for the news
of the world.
News of the world. The world of video games.
The infinite universe of video games.
What guang?
Games dim.
Indeed, that place.
What have we got then? So missed news. Like last week, we probably should. Like we all completely missed the announcement of Dirt Rally 2.
Well, because it wasn't a very big announcement. Because it's Dirt Rally. It's not exactly the most AAA game ever or anything.
Dirt Rally 2. What? But I thought it's Dirt Rally not going to sort of just evolve, or are they just doing a new one?
Well, you see, this is the thing about this whole situation where it's like Dirt Rally was a weird experiment, and then they were like, which worked real well. And then they were like, okay, we're going to take that tech from Dirt Rally and make Dirt 4, and it will be great. And then they fucked it up,
and no one gave a shit.
They fucked it up real bad. But now apparently just back to Dirt Rally again, so maybe it'll be good again, maybe. The trouble is that they've already said the same things they said about Dirt 4, where they're like, we got real rally drivers to help us make this engine more realistic than ever, and it's like, somehow you managed to completely screw up the engine between Dirt Rally and Dirt 4, so what the fuck are those rally drivers doing?
Don't they do that, like, every Colin McRae game they've ever made?
Always say that.
Yeah.
But it was particularly bad with Dirt 4, just because of the whole Dirt Rally situation, where it's like, you already had this great engine with great physics, and then somehow you made it worse.
What are you doing?
But Dirt Rally will have the focus on rally that the original had, presumably.
Well, I mean, Dirt 4 was just rally.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought
well, then Rally Cross.
Rally Cross.
Yeah, but Rally Cross was in Dirt Rally as well. Yeah.
And the Land Rush-esque, but not really Land Rush.
Oh, like the trucks stuff.
Truck driving.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a Dirt staple. Like, I'm happy with that being in Dirt. But...
So are they going back to making tracks rather than auto-generating them?
I don't think I've seen them say anything about what the tracks will be.
Because that was the main problem with Dirt Rally, was it just wasn't quite enough variety.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even when they rolled out all of their environments, it's like each environment only had, actual 2 ribbons?
Yeah.
Which isn't a lot, really. Even if you go back to the original stuff, some of the tracks in the original Colin McRae Rally games were reverse versions of other ones. That was a thing. But even then, there was more unique course layouts.
I guess.
Than we ended up with in Dirt Rally. And it's
obviously,
this leads on to the obvious budget thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're extremely detailed compared to the old games.
Yeah.
And they're not short, those ribbons, I guess. But still.
What are they about?
10
are they about 10 minutes? Are they really that long?
Yeah, the whole thing.
So that's like 20 minutes of track per.
Oh, yeah, I suppose they're 3-minute segments, aren't they, ish?
Yeah, but you do end up playing them over and in reverse and all over the shop.
But the thing is with Dirt Rally is it's weird because those courses are... I think this is where I fell out Dirt Rally a little bit, in that those courses were so intricate and awkward, but that you kind of felt like you had to learn them, which is kind of the antithesis of Rally. Like, learning the tracks was such a massive thing, like in that one, because there'd just be one corner that's crazy awkward, or there'd be one corner that is just like so different from all the others that you mess it up every time.
I don't think that was a problem with the track design. That was a problem with pace notes.
To a point, yeah, but
there was definitely one. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there was
always one corner where you go flying off where the pace notes are screwed. Or...
Yeah. And it was the pace notes were sort of inconsistent in different ways on each ribbon, right? The timings felt different on different environments.
I felt like it did somewhat get better and get occasionally patched. Is that true, Zach?
Yeah, they messed with it a few times, but I still felt it was quite inconsistent across the environments. Like,
but it's not
say the Finland ones came far too late, for instance. Or it was one of the ways round. Like, some of the later environments were far too early or far too late. Like, even without you changing your setting, which is, by the way, that's a cool option. They're like, how early do you want the pace notes? It's like, they should bring that back for sure. But...
It was a cool option, but I tried changing it away from default and had problems. So
it's because it was like too not granular enough.
Yeah. But I mean, all that will happen is, like, if they do make another one with nicer graphics and maybe even if they have more courses, you'll still need that kind of community adjustment of the pace notes, because I don't think they're going to smash it perfectly.
Well, here's the thing.
They're trying their best.
It's coming out soon. It's like February.
Oh, really?
That's why... Well, I mean...
And it's coming out across...
It was quite a long time ago.
Yeah, I suppose it's last year now, right? Yeah,
well, it's kind of exciting. I mean, I haven't finished playing Dirt Rally, so...
I mean, it would be nice if they managed to make a new version of the track generator that's just better, as we said about that track generator.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a good idea, just not well executed the first attempt.
Yeah, I do hope they work up. They use that again. It is a good idea. Don't ditch it like you ditched Evolution Studios just because they tried something different. I guess that the fact that it's coming so soon after, like, when we haven't had much of a build up to it, is a bit odd, I guess, given that how much early access Dirt Rally really was, and there's going to be console versions like launched day one. It's like it's all part and parcel
Full
this
on,
time,
right.
rather than the sort of eked out launch that Dirt Rally had.
But the real question is like, why would they like if it's going to be any larger than Dirt Rally was, like if it's going to be more close to an actual game, then why is now Dirt Rally going to be its own series that's like equivalent to Dirt? Whereas like now they're not going to have Dirt be like the rally game any longer, like they tried with Dirt 4. Maybe Dirt will go back to being the like random stuff game, and Dirt Rally will become the actual rally game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I think their experiment with Dirt Showdown. Do you remember? I think that's going to just become what Dirt is moving forward. Even if they keep Dirt around at all, like just straight up Dirt. Filthy Dirt.
I mean, the Dirt series had always just been
Colin McRae Rally. Yeah.
That was just what that was. But then they started putting all the other disciplines in, and it moved away from being rally, and then some people were annoyed with that.
But I really enjoyed the Land Rush stuff from Dirt 2 in particular.
Yeah.
That was the sort of bigger truck. Not, well, they were trophy trucks, aren't they? I guess.
Aren't they? They're like Dakar Rally trucks.
Kinda, yeah. But that was good fun, like the sort of proper racing, but on sort of off-road, nice wide off-road tracks. That was good fun. And like, yeah, I think there's a place for that still, and Dirt is that place. But these rally games, they have to be like, they have to be so focused and beautifully done simulations of just rally. It's like I'm not sure I did play quite a lot of the Rally Cross, in fairness, and found that to be actually quite a good representation of that. The simulation side of it, the fact that it actually forces you to do a full tournament on the same course and stuff like that. It's, they're leaning into that simulation style that I can sort of get behind, but it's a difficult balance between going full sim and being far too dry. And I think the Rallycross came off as far too dry, and the rally itself came off as a little inconsistent to me. Plus, going back to my old rants about how the vertical physics worked in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the car roll in particular.
That was one of the bits of the physics that got better in Dirt 4, but everything else got messed up. It's like, you need to combine these two into an actual functional thing.
Yeah. Still, could be interesting.
They did say one of the bullet points that has been said about Dirt Rally 2 is track deformation. They're actually going to try and do it.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
I mean, but is it relevant in rally? Because you won't see any other cars.
Well, I mean, if they're modelling the thing where like your standing
is actually going to affect the track, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, if you're like you're starting like at the back of the group, for instance, the track could be more moulded for that particular. But is that just going to be baked in things, or are they going to try and simulate?
Well, I mean, if they say track deformation, that kind of implies it's got to be happening. Like not pre-set.
Well, can you imagine? Oh, I suppose it wouldn't be fair for like online tournaments or something like that. But like, it'd be really interesting if that was applied. Like, oh, you're playing like an online tournament with real players, and it's simulating like, oh, you're going 12th, so you're going to take the run off this player or something. Or there could be some interesting things there.
Yeah.
Because I guess that was one of the things that was actually quite promising about the original Dirt Rally was their online. The tournament management side of it, actually seemed like they went pretty deep on that, and it's so if they're adding to that, great. So Dirt Rally 2. Oh, and the other important was it Colin McRae 2 where they did the 2.0 thing.
Yeah,
they're doing that this time as well. It's technically Dirt Rally 2.0.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's a nice nod to Colin McRae Rally.
Bit of a callback again.
With that, like, teal and that Ford Focus. For some reason.
I don't think it's teal this time. I like that teal, though. It's a nice colour.
Dirt Rally was, like, kind of blue.
Was it?
That box art.
I suppose the box art was, but the game itself was, like, beige.
Yeah, but not like Colin McRae 2 was cyan or whatever.
No, I suppose you're right. Yeah. I can't really remember the menus from Colin McRae 2. My phone vibrates loudly.
Yeah, apparently.
What else we got on the news front?
After we managed to talk about that, nothing news story for ages.
Hey, it's interesting. We like Dirt Rally.
Yes, but we can talk about it when it comes out. or closer to when it comes out, when we have actual information to talk about.
True, yeah.
Not just speculation and wishes.
Should we talk about XO18 that happened shortly after... shortly after our last Saladcast was recorded.
Do you really want to?
I mean, there isn't a lot to say, in fairness. It was one of those inside Xbox events, which aren't really proper press conferences, and it was, too long, too much fluff. They had Phil Spencer come down and say nothing, which is a bit unlike Phil. He normally drops some sort of nugget of information, but yeah, nothing from him. So there was one game I took away from it thinking, oh, that looks a bit of Zach. Void Bastards. So imagine you took a sort of FTL-esque progression through the galaxy, combined it with a bit of Heat Signatures style, boarding a ship, getting the loot, getting off, except it's all done in a very almost Jet Set Radio-like first-person presentation, except for like the FTL map stuff. And it kind of looked and like very cartoony, like sprite-based almost, like bad guy designs as you're going through it. It's a real interesting looking thing. And it's like, if there's nothing else, it's like it might be a bit of Zach, which is why I raise it. Or it might not. You might immediately turn your nose up at it because it's got that FPS element to it, but or its humour and style might rub you the wrong way. But interesting looking thing, worth having a gander. Terry Crews was being Terry Crews on some more Crackdown 3. Hey, they went back to... Do you remember that initial reveal of Crackdown 3 where there was cloud-based destruction?
Yeah.
That's still there.
Okay.
They've actually confirmed just like it will be a thing. They were all this time. Did
they ever get round to confirming whether it will work in multiplayer or not?
I mean, it's the modes they were showing were purely multiplayer, like a special environment where that just pretty much everything can be destroyed, and so all of that would be cloud modelled. Apparently, it looks weird because it's a lock-on aiming. So like I guess they're trying to do like a bit. It looks a bit Metroidy in some ways. Like Metroid Prime-y. In that you move around, you have to be more worried about your movement than you do your aim. And it's like it's weird. Anyway, that game apparently still exists. I've got a note here about Thief of Thieves, which is being made by the team that took over The Walking Dead after Telltale collapsed. Skybound, but that looked kind of okay if you want like a sort of cartoony, a comic book focused stealth game. But it looked like it was being presented like episodically, but you just buy the season outright in a sort of Telltale-esque way. But yeah, weird. Kind of looked okay if you like your stealth games, but it looked like a stealth game, so I was kind of like, maybe not for me, but someone might like it. And I guess the obvious news of the week, that Obsidian rumour, totally true. Microsoft now own Obsidian.
Cool, we've covered that then.
Yeah, nothing really to add there other than they officially announced it. I think they bought another studio as well. Like I think they're called In Access or something like that, but I keep getting confused with the band, so I can't remember what they do. Might be In Access, I don't know. Anyway, they acquired some other studio as well. So Microsoft still be acquiring.
The buying spree continues.
And that's it, really. XO18, bit of a bust. It was even in Mexico, Expected more flavour. I don't know why.
Mexican flavour.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the PlayStation Classic games list?
Why? What's on it that we didn't know?
Well, we only knew of like 5 of them, and so we now know all of them. Okay. I think some of this list is like I'm just a little bit like, okay, why did you pick that one?
Right.
Out of some of these series.
I mean, probably licensing.
Yeah, probably, but some of them not so much. Like I don't know, they've picked Cool Borders 2.
Right.
As the
Cool Borders
here.
3 being the
Cool Borders 3
one.
is vastly superior.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's as far as I'm aware, a Sony-owned property. So it's like that's a weird choice.
What's on there? There's Tony Hawk's 2 on there.
They probably couldn't get it to run well enough on the emulator.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it's a newer game.
We've got the original Destruction Derby. Which I suppose makes sense because it's like some of this stuff I think is
I want to go actually classic.
Yeah, and I think that's why they picked Cool Borders 2 because it is basically the same as Cool Borders 1, just a little bit better. And it's like I think they are gunning for like first round PlayStation stuff here,
right?
But then they've got Tekken 3, you know, which is clearly not first round PlayStation. That's like late PlayStation. The original Rayman, I think we predicted that one.
Sure.
The first Persona game, which is an interesting choice. Because I don't think that really was big over here.
Here in the West?
Yeah.
In the West.
Mr. Driller. Jumping Flash, confirmed. Intelligent Cube, which I think is called Karushi in this country, like originally. But like I remember that from like the demo disc I got with our PlayStation when we first got it back in 97 or whatever. And it's like I remember that game being pretty good. It's like sort of weird puzzle game where the cubes are just sort of rolling towards you and you've got to try and get rid of them without getting crushed or pushed off the end of the stage. It's, yeah, kind of weird. Oddworld, Super Puzzle Fighter, the original Rainbow Six on PlayStation.
Weird. That's a PC game.
Yeah. It's a weird choice.
Really strange choice.
Just put in fucking Command and Conquer on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Get that version.
Boy.
Not as bad as
the N64 version.
The N64 version.
I wonder if they could then sell you like a PlayStation mouse to go with your PlayStation Classic. Because I think that supported it, right? The original GTA.
Yeah.
I guess fairly obviously, but I suppose GTA 2 might have been the better pick, but whatever.
Don't know.
MGS got in.
Good on.
But that's a weird choice simply because MGS was bits of it are specifically designed for the use of the DualShock controller.
Yeah, which you
don't get.
Yeah, but it was also specifically designed to account for that, though, right?
Yeah, it does.
They say scenes play out differently.
They do play out differently, but it's like some of the coolest stuff is controller based, or the Psycho Mantis scene. Anyway, it's all about that stuff.
No, it's not all about that stuff. There's several other elements to that thing that will still work.
Yeah,
they might have to adapt that whole scene for the PlayStation Classic.
That would be better.
Which would be fun.
They made a special version that actually was like, hang on a minute, this is a PlayStation Classic.
That would be awesome.
We're in the future now.
Yeah, that is strange. That's an interesting thought. That's really all of note that I want to mention. Like it's weird putting like the original Battle Arena Toshinden up against like in a package with Tekken 3 because it's like, oh right, this is. I suppose it's interesting from the perspective of like Toshinden is where we started with 3D fighters on the platform. Tekken 3 is where we ended. It's like go from bad to good. I don't know. Apparently that thing is like quite bare bones and like the way it handles save states and stuff like that is actually, it doesn't seem like they've put the same level of effort into it that Ninty did with the NES and SNES.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. I guess that might be expected, I suppose, but from someone trying to mimic the Nintendo success. But whatevs. It's a PlayStation Classic. Probably not going to get one of those because, any game I have, I can just emulate. It's true of the other things, I suppose, as well. But
yeah.
All right, let's do that Detective Pikachu trailer.
Not much of it, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Gut reaction.
Did anyone see that coming? I didn't know that was happening.
I think I knew it was happening because when I saw it was like, oh, it's Ryan Reynolds playing Pikachu. A bit of my brain just went, oh yeah, of course.
Right. I thought Detective Pikachu was supposed to have like a gruff, Brooklyn accent. I thought that was the joke, wasn't it? But no, they've made him just Deadpool, which is a bit weird. But yeah, it kind of looked better than it should be.
Yeah, I didn't expect to be, but I think I'm in.
Yeah, I think quite a few people are in a kind of ironic way because everyone was the right age for Pokemon at this point.
I suppose,
in the late 90s. So now that they're the people who want weird cult films.
Yeah,
and I
suppose
this will potentially it. And also, everyone's like, well, that Toy Story 4 trailer was just the characters dancing around, going around in a circle. So, I mean, that's fine, but that's just a teaser. Whereas Detective Pikachu's like, wait, what?
This is a proper trailer.
Yeah.
Like they've clearly, this is coming together, whatever it is.
Full trailer.
And they're doing Pokemon things in a Pokemon world.
In a Pokemon world.
I go better than just randomly having Detective Pikachu, which seems completely random in the game context, where it's just like, because it's already, in the game context, it's like you're already in the Pokemon world where Pokemon exists, but now we've got this like weird spin-off of the Pokemon world with Detective Pikachu, whereas in the movie it's just like, okay, this is just the real world take on the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. Apart from it fucks with the canon, because like now apparently just one guy can understand Pokemon, which I guess doesn't fuck with the canon.
Well, he's Dr. Doolittle or whatever.
Well, there's a guy in like Black and White that's his thing. Like he can understand Pokemon.
Oh, really?
But then if you compare it back to the game, it's like, what's the story in the game of Detective Pikachu? Because this I don't actually know.
Oh yeah,
because does the Pikachu talk in that game? Is it like Meowth, where like the Pikachu has learned to talk, or is it like the movie where just the guy can understand?
Him.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I bet he still wants to check out the actual game. Just because that gruff voice just makes me smile in some way.
I mean, it's quite simplistic, I think, in terms of the puzzles. But yeah. I mean, yeah. So is it that the guy can understand this particular Pokemon, and this particular Pokemon is the particular Pikachu that wears the Deerstalker hat, who's obsessed with being a detective.
And needs his coffee.
But then how did that even happen? Like, how did this Pokemon acquire a Deerstalker hat and like, what did the humans that couldn't understand it think was happening there?
I don't know.
So like, this Pikachu just wants to wear a hat, I guess.
Also, daddy issues. Immediately, just getting straight out there and being like, "This is about your father." It's like, all right.
It's not daddy issues.
It's daddy issues.
Not what that means.
I put it in that category.
Yeah,
it's not every story has to be about your dad.
I mean, that would just be like, that would be the reason why he can understand the Pokemon physics. It's either genetic or like some kind of science experiment.
That's probably why his dad was murdered or has been captured so they can
brain implants.
Yeah, harvest.
Oh yeah, it's Resident Evil, but Pokemon.
Yep.
Okay.
Resident Pokemon.
I mean, it looks pretty weird, so you really get the Resident Evil vibes going there.
Biomon.
Yep, they're clearly just monsters.
I always thought like there's one scene there in that trailer that makes I can't help but smile, but not because I don't think it's intentional. It's like that first scene of the city you see, and there's that Charmander walking towards.
Yeah,
a Charmander's supposed to run like they're surprised that their tail is on fire. Because like this Charmander looks like he's walking away going, "Oh my god, my tail's on fire."
I think that's just what their face looks like. They have that weird mouth. Constantly open for no reason.
Yeah.
Or, that's how it used to be
designed.
You would have thought that might have been something they changed.
I think it's the sort of waddle as well that it has that makes it look a little bit panicked.
Yes, the two legs for no apparent reason.
Like, oh, my tail's on fire. It's always on fire, Charmander. Ah!
I mean, you need to worry about it not being on fire. That's the actual thing with Charmanders, right? So the canonical thing is, like, you can't let that tail get rained on because it might go out and then they die.
Oh, is that the thing?
Well, that's what's implied anyway.
Huh.
Who knows whether that actually happens in Pokemon?
So like they faint, I guess.
Well, yeah, maybe.
And so it's a good way of putting them to sleep, just go...
I think the original Pokedex entry does say they die. But that was in, like, red and blue times.
Yeah, but the Pokedex is mad anyway.
Yeah.
It's full of nonsense.
Yeah.
The original Pokedex, because no one expected that world to grow that much.
Or it's full of, not necessarily nonsense, but things that at the time they never thought they'd have to worry about.
Exactly.
They never thought it would become a big deal in the future. That's like, oh shit, now this Pokemon that, like, we said dies if its tail goes out, it's getting hit by water attacks all the time. Don't worry about it in a 2D pixel art game. That's irrelevant. But now in the modern world where, like, we're fucking having a giant wave go across the screen, it's like, how is it still alive?
Super fire.
Well, yes.
So when does this movie come out?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
Next year, presumably. I don't think it's soon.
No, it's not going to be a Christmas. Well, I mean, if they manage to make it a Christmas release, that would probably be a good time for it, but they're not going to, presumably.
Did they even announce the release? That I don't know.
I don't think
No.
it said that.
Coming sometime.
Coming 2019. Yeah.
Right, let's test out this microphone.
I suppose
Refreshing sound.
I suppose it's not a bottle of Coke. You won't get that like after sizzle
No.
or after bubble. It's not really a sizzle, I suppose, is it? That sort of. Didn't even create that big a spike. The opening. I think that's
I think
news.
it is.
That's the end of news.
Unless you've got news that I don't know about. You've been holding to yourself this whole time.
Now I'm trying to remember what it was.
Oh.
I had 4 things, and I'm trying to remember what they were.
And they're entirely covered.
Detective Pikachu, that was one of them. We're good on that one.
We're good.
Something about Bethesda. Oh, yeah, right. The
Oh, what, Fallout 76?
Well, not actually directly related to Fallout 76, but kind of. Apparently, Todd Howard said somewhere on the internet that they're still going to continue using that engine for Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield.
Wait, what? So Creation Engine
Yep.
is
They're
just...
still not going to make a new engine.
But he was being interviewed, and he was like, sigh. And he was like, I don't think people really understand how modern software works, and that
Sure,
the engines are like
It's
modular.
difficult to make an engine.
Oh, sure. They must
And the
improve
rendering
it.
thing was completely overhauled at this point, and at this point, all the scripting systems, and it's like Ship of Theseus, isn't it, or Trigger's Broom? When you
Yeah.
replace all the parts, is it the same engine?
Mm.
I don't know.
It
That's
sure
what he was
seems
trying
like
to
the same
say.
engine, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It kind of seems like the same engine, right? But it's hard to look at like Red Dead 2 and see the same engine as Rockstar Presents Table Tennis, but it is.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like,
it's not, didn't it? Didn't it change at some point? Like,
No.
the animation system, didn't they give it a new name?
oh, I'm sure what the animation did, but the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine has been.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's
yeah,
the same engine.
Rage Engine.
But it's all the parts have been changed.
Because what was it? Like, is it Euphoria originally? And
Yeah. But
and that
that's
was
just
got a
the
different-
animation part of
yeah.
it. But I mean, the actual engine, base engine or whatever, is theoretically the same. But then, if you look at Call of Duty, it's theoretically the same engine as Quake. I mean, it depends how you look at it, really,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
So that's what he was trying to get at. But on the other hand, the games just get jankier and older looking.
Well, one of the things that like people have been pissed off about Fallout 76, or there's several reasons, but there's actually, and I mean this was obviously going to happen, but there's bugs in Fallout 76 that were in Fallout 4 that Bethesda knew about but didn't fix, and then even they were bugs in Fallout 4 that were fixed with like modders made patches, and now you can't do that in 76. You can't have that patch because it's an online game and everything. So it's like you knew about this bug since Fallout 4 and you didn't fix it, but the modders did for Fallout 4, but now we can't fix it. So can you fix it, please? Maybe work on your engine for like a minute.
Yeah. Harsh but fair.
So yeah, everyone's pissed about Fallout 76.
Yeah. I mean,
they did apparently lock the frame rate, as we kind of predicted they'd have to,
Right,
with the
yeah.
physics frame rate bug situation.
is it me, or could you kind of tell from the announcement that this was going to piss people off
Well, yeah.
from the beginning?
I mean,
What, Fallout
a bunch,
76?
of, a bunch of people were pissed off as soon as they said multiplayer, which, that's a whole different situation, I guess. If you like single-player games and you wanted another single-player Fallout adventure, then yes, that would slightly piss you off.
Well, Obsidian weren't
Didn't
available to do
necessarily need to
the...
be bad.
Obsidian weren't available to do the add-on content this time. Clearly.
So yeah, that continue to see that engine. We really have to hope that even if it is the same engine, they're at least going to actually work on it for real this time, rather than between Fallout 4 and now, where they don't seem to have done virtually anything.
I mean, I think we're probably being a little harsh. So, like, behind the scenes, there's probably quite a lot of work that's gone on to make the engine actually deal with the bigger environments and deal with it.
Yeah, but
in the
not bigger
multiplayer.
environments, though, is it? It's exactly the same as Fallout 4,
Isn't it?
functionally speaking.
I thought, well,
It's an open world, and you go into buildings and it loads into a new zone.
sure. The
Functionally exactly the
I
same.
guess.
The only thing that they would have worked on for that engine was the multiplayer code.
I remember Skyrim looking sort of quite impressive, like when
At
it
the
came
time,
out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even some of the improvements in Fallout 4 kind of, they were... I mean, Bethesda made a big deal of it, and they did so for pretty good reason, in fairness, because it's just like, hey, look what we can do now.
But even in that E3, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's still the same engine, isn't it?
I know what you mean. It looked a little...
I could easily tell.
You can tell by the pixels, can't you?
Yeah.
I find that with
Some of the
engines. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I said this like when Kips and I were at EGX, right, and we saw Spyro being played.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it crossed my mind, it's like, there's definitely a look to modern PlayStation games, right? They have
there is,
in the same way that PS3 had a sort of look to it.
Yeah.
But then, actually, that's not a PlayStation thing anymore. It's just a certain type of rendering that you do.
Yes.
Because it's like, if you look at Spyro running on the Xbox, for instance,
it's got the same look.
It's identical, right? There's like no difference at all. But
it's because they're both the same... They're basically the same chip, aren't they? They're both AMD integrated CPU and graphics chip. It's just the PlayStation got a slightly...
But even then, I still think there's some
version.
truth to that, right? You look at games like Uncharted, and I've just been playing Spider-Man and stuff like that. They look different to things I've played on Xbox. It's like there's a smoothness to them. There's like, whether that's fuzzy or not, but there's definitely a different look to PlayStation games compared to what I've been playing on Xbox. It's weird and hard to describe, but it at least to me it feels that way, even though it's probably nonsense.
No, I don't know what it is. It's just a sort of feeling, isn't it? But there's definitely a strong character to frickin' Bethesda games that if they can eliminate
when
that,
there's characters in them, yes.
Yeah. In terms of the presentation, as they say.
No mysterious stranger
that I'm aware of. No.
Yeah.
Right.
One more bit then of news.
Here we go.
Or kind of news.
Well, we got the GameCube adapter thing, but that's not really.
Sure.
It hopefully shouldn't affect me.
But this turns out that this last bit of news is kind of, well, I say news, it's not exactly news, but it's about Smash Bros. You thought we were going to get out of Smash Bros. News now that the final director happened.
Wait, what? No. There's more?
Well,
do we know what the first DLC character is or something?
No, not yet.
Okay.
It's about the DLC, kind of.
Oh.
Because this was a comment that happened after the podcast, after the direct, so that's why I'm bringing it up now. But they said that the DLC characters have already been decided.
Okay, right. So, in development, that makes sense.
Yeah, but like all of them.
Yeah, makes sense.
They were probably only working on the first one by now. But the thing about it is that, like, so last time they did DLC, they had their community vote thing, and then they based their choices about the DLC on that. So that's not happening this time.
Right,
They're
yeah.
like, it's already been decided. Don't stop telling us what you want.
Stop having polls.
Yes, stop having polls that aren't organised by us. But the thing about it was that when I was watching that last direct, there was a moment in there that kind of hinted at it. Because when they talked about the Fighters Pass and like all the 5 DLC characters that they haven't determined what they are yet or whatever, the bonus that you got for the Fighters Pass was that Mii costume of Rex.
Oh yeah.
And they said at that point that the Xenoblade 2 had come out too late in development of Smash Brothers to make Rex an actual character. It's like, oh, he missed the roster.
Right.
And so the question would have been, why is he not going to be a DLC then? Because now this is long enough after Xenoblade 2 to make him a DLC, surely.
I see, but now you've poo-pooed it because you've put a Rex-like...
Yeah, but now you put this costume in instead.
But that's not true. I don't think that was a good enough reason to rule it out, simply because there's Inkling costumes and there's an Inkling.
That is the argument against it. But now
and there's Samus costumes and there's Samus,
But now that they've said, like, that the DLC has already been decided... I don't know, that kind of, to me, implies that it had been decided, like, quite a long time ago. Like, maybe even before Xenoblade 2 came out.
Right, so is this more about, like, that the fact that they hid the DLC characters from us is a lie? Is that what this is about? Or... Kind
of. I mean, I don't think it matters that much.
I mean, maybe there's some if they are, like, licensed in other characters, maybe there's some agreement.
Well, sure, that too. If they wanted to time it to launches for some other reason. But yeah, it was just weird that, like... And it also kind of cracked up the idea that people were suggesting where it's like, don't worry about Waluigi, he could still theoretically be DLC. They can take out the assist trophy and put him in. It's like, probably not.
I mean...
It seems like at this point, if they're saying the DLC has already been decided and they're putting the assist trophies in the base game, I'm pretty sure that's not going to indicate that he's going to un-assist trophy it. I
mean, unless they do something weird like he can't appear as an assist if he's in the game.
I mean, sure, that can theoretically happen. But, like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think if if they had decided the DLC that early on, as it appears they might have, I think assist trophies are pretty much fine.
Or maybe
Shadow is not going to suddenly become a character.
Sure. Or maybe like Waluigi is relegated to I kind of think like Waluigi might be relegated to be an assist because they needed some mainline Nintendo character to be an assist. Because they just wanted one.
But why not Daisy?
Or Piranha Plant. Or
yeah, well, that doesn't count as a mainline character, does it?
Summon a Goomba. I don't know.
Well, I think we probably already...
I don't think there is
There was in Brawl, but that wasn't an assist trophy back then. It was just an enemy that could sometimes spawn.
Could it? I mean, in Melee, it was in the adventure mode, right? But
I think they carried that over into Brawl, right? Because it was in...
somewhere in subspace. Okay, yeah.
But then it could also just spawn in battles sometimes.
Pepe's wondering if we should go back and play Subspace, because I could...
Remind yourself what it was like.
Yeah. Video series incoming.
God.
We could run it in Dolphin, see what it's like.
I guess.
Get them HD subspaces.
So there's that. I mean, I guess we kind of... There was a suspicion that was the case, and now I guess we've confirmed it.
Well, I mean, we haven't confirmed anything at this point. It's just...
But yeah, I guess the Mii fighter costume doesn't technically rule out Rex.
No. I think that's safe to say.
But the fact that they kind of said he didn't make the roster, with the fact that they have already decided the DLC, that kind of implies...
I mean, but would it be... I don't know. Yeah, it's like... I almost think like Rex is actually not that much of the well-known character. Like,
fucking Shulk wasn't.
No. So I know that
arguably Xenoblade 2 is probably more popular.
No, yeah, and I know it's like first party and stuff like that. But surely this is going to come out as a man thing to say, but surely Xenoblade 2 is more popular because of those blade designs, right? Like boob swords.
I mean,
surely they'd be the characters.
Yeah, but that's not how that even works in that game, is it?
I mean, they are. I mean, that one. I mean, that one. You know, are they? They don't actually fight.
Well, it's kind of more like a team thing, as I understand it. Like the blades are sort of existing in your vicinity, but then they're like it's kind of like the spirits.
I guess right. So they don't actually behave like full-on characters. They're just sort of in the battle.
I think so. That's what it appears from the little tiny bits of footage I've seen.
Okay, right, yeah.
Because she is literally the sword. It's not like
yeah.
But it's not like the sword turns into a person. The sword still exists at the same time.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Boob swords. It's the official canon name. They just had to change it in the West to Blade.
That's it. I remembered the fourth bit of news was the PlayStation E3 thing, so we're good. Covered.
Oh, that they're not going to E3.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's time for what you've been playing.
What you been playing?
Zeg, you got cut off last time. I think it's your
turn.
I don't even remember what I didn't talk about last time. I talked about everything really quickly.
Probably more,
I said, right?
Probably more Oxygen, wasn't it? Or something like that. Or...
Yeah, I spent more time playing that, mostly.
You solve your meteor problems?
Not really, because I haven't got to the surface again in the new save. I mean, I could, if I wanted to. I could just dig straight up there and stuff would start happening. But I kind of have been deliberately not revealing it. So it's like, don't initiate the problem until you're ready to deal with it.
Don't go too high.
Although I don't, like I said, there's those new animals that are meant to sort of solve that problem. But I don't know, I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know how effective they are or whatever.
Or if they even spawn near you, or if you've got to somehow coax them towards your base.
Or like how...
We need to farm...
Or whether they'll just die off. Because some of the animals... It's a slight problem with the way the animals work in the game in general. Is like they have the idea that there's like the base version of an animal, and then it can sometimes turn into a different version that has different effects.
It can evolve.
Yeah, kind of. But like the way that works is so you have the main one that I always see as the biggest problem for this is like there's a fish that spawns. And, like, it lives in the slime biome and it just sits there and it's fine. And the way, like, the breeding cycles work is when the animal is wild, they usually are specifically set up to lay exactly one egg before they die, so it will just constantly keep respawning, basically.
Okay, yeah.
And then when you tame them, you can, like, increase their reproduction rate to breed more. And that's fine, except, like, with the fish specifically, there's like a 2% chance that it will lay this other kind of fish egg. But there's two other kinds, but both of these other kinds of fish can't actually survive in the normal environment of the fish spawning. Like, it's too hot, too cold, I think.
The eggs
so the eggs hatch,
immediately...
and then the fish just dies, and then that fish spawn is basically gone forever.
Yeah, weird.
Because the system is set up so, like, if you take the regular fish and you put it in a hot environment, its chance to lay that kind of egg goes up. But because it has, like, this 2% chance by default, even in the wild, it can just randomly happen, and then that kills that fish off.
What is a fish, anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I knew.
But then, like...
Yes, I do.
I don't think the meteor surface creature has any different versions, so that probably won't at least happen for those.
Can I just point out the two most aesthetically pleasing words I think we've said this whole podcast so far was slime biome.
Slime biome?
Slime biome. It's quite nice.
Yeah, a lot of slime in it.
Even more pleasing than boob sword.
And yeah, so I feel like I'm working my way through like the list of critical time-sensitive problems. It's like you have the food situation, you get through that. Then you have like the oxygen situation, and you get through that. And then the oxygen situation causes the water situation because you're using water to make oxygen. So you're like, oh shit, now I'm running out of water. Deal with that. Then the heat situation, and I think I've more or less got the heat situation under control, sort of. Except I'm kind of I'm at this point where my heat situation is like, it's under control, but then I like can't add any more machines because they produce more heat. Right. So like I'm under control, but I can't really progress without introducing more heat and then having to deal with that. And then now I've reached the power situation where I'm running out of like coal, so I'm going to not be able to run my coal generators, and I can't sustain myself on natural gas that I'm tapping because that doesn't actually produce fast enough to deal with my power demand at the moment.
So you go to the service and get solar?
Well, I thought about it, but solar is actually a real pain in the ass.
Because it keeps getting destroyed?
Because it keeps getting destroyed, mainly. So in order to run solar panels, well, first of all, you have to make glass, which is not that difficult, but introduces a lot of heat, because you're melting down sand.
Yeah.
But then once you build a solar panel, you can't just... It's like making the amount of glass you need to make a solar panel is not actually that difficult, even in terms of heat produced. Because I tested it in a test save. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not terrible. And I could make this solar panel. But in order to protect the solar panel from meteors, you'd also have to build like glass doors that automatically open and close when the meteor storms start. And that's like, so you're not just making 200 kilograms of glass to make a solar panel, you're making 200 kilograms of glass and like 1,000 kilograms of steel for all the blast doors and shit that you need to protect it. So it's like, that's not even very easy to do. So instead you've got to go down. I'm about to go into the oil biomes and start taking oil out of there and run petroleum generators.
It's not nearly as satisfying to say. No. Oil biome.
But then that's, petroleum generators and oil refineries, that's a lot of heat. So then the heat situation is going to start up again. And even though I say I've got the heat situation under control, it's still all temporary because I'm just dumping heat into the ice biomes, which over time is going to heat them up. And then...
Right.
You're destroying the planet's egg.
Yeah, basically. Or, not destroying it, just making everything the same. Just neutralising all the temperature gradients.
Just heat death of the universe, yeah. Heat death of the planet, anyway.
Yep. Yeah. I've been... Because the real trick to heat management is finding the things that just, like, the game elements where it turns into a game and doesn't obey real physics, where it's just, like, things that just destroy heat. Just for no reason, really. Like when you're making oxygen from electrolysis, when you take water in and you electrolyze it, it turns into oxygen and hydrogen. Regardless of what temperature water you use, the oxygen and hydrogen always comes out at 70 degrees. So if you take...
Oh, I see. So
that's like a bug, isn't it?
Well, you could argue that it's a bug that might get fixed, but it's also kind of important for the way you get rid of the heat, because there's only so much heat you can get rid of using the other things that explicitly just destroy heat, the plants and the secret machines.
Can't you just pump heat into the ocean? Isn't that like an infinite?
You can heat up a lot, like water a lot, because it has like a high heat capacity. But even then, that's not like going to last forever. And also, the trouble with heat pumps is like, when you're using the ice zones to cool your base, you're just like run oxygen through a radiant pipe that just transmits heat into the oxygen, and it just absorbs or transmits its heat into the ice zone, so the ice zone heats up over time. If you want to actually use the mechanical machines that like a refrigerator, I guess, take the heat out of the fluid in the pipe and transmit it into the environment. Those use power. So you're effectively still you're using power, which means you're making heat somewhere else in your base, as well as the actual heat the machine transfers to the material. And the machine itself running creates extra heat in itself, I guess, to some extent. But I'm basically trying not to do maths. Like, I could theoretically be like, okay, how much, when this machine uses 200 watts of power, what is that equivalent in terms of heat produced from my power plants? And is it actually worthwhile? And how long should I heat this water up before I run it through the electrolyzers? I mean, obviously, you should just heat it up to like 99 degrees. Get as much possible into it before you turn it back into 70-degree oxygen.
Yeah, makes sense.
But then, I mean, like, it seems like the long-term solution must be the steam engines. Because if you can heat the water up into steam, once it changes to a gas, you don't have to worry about the, liquid to gas transition any longer. And then you can just keep dumping more and more heat into the steam forever, essentially, until you reach whatever the presumably hard-coded upper temperature limit is in the game. But then the steam engines again are just one of the things that just delete heat. Like, it takes in hot steam at the bottom and outputs slightly colder steam at the top. So you could theoretically just run the steam through the steam engine and eliminate the heat and gain power as well.
And gain power, yeah, perfect.
Theoretically, except...
I mean, that's how an actual power plant works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then using the electricity generates heat depending on what you use the electricity in.
Yeah, exactly. And also there's a variety of other problems with trying to run steam engines in this game. Mainly the throughput is, like, ridiculous. Like, if you're running... Steam engines use, like, 10 kilograms of steam per second. And a water pump can pump 10 kilograms of water per second. But a gas pump only pumps 1 kilogram of gas.
But surely it's high-pressure steam. It doesn't need a pump.
It doesn't need a pump to go through the steam engine, providing there's a pressure differential between the bottom and the top of the steam engine. So if you have a closed room beneath the steam engine that you fill with water and then turn it into steam, that's fine. It just goes through the steam engine automatically up until the pressure not equalizes, but gets close to equal. But then you've got all this slightly colder steam above the steam engine that you're like, okay, well, I guess I could, like, stack another steam engine on top of it. That'd be fine. You could just chain them together.
Triple cycle or whatever. Cool.
Yeah, so you can do that. But then you reach the point where the steam...
Combined cycle, sorry.
reach the point where the steam gets cold enough that it can't run a steam engine any longer.
Of course.
Which is still, like, 220 degrees.
Yeah, so then you go to the cooling tower.
So then you're like, okay, yeah, then you need to... basically cool it again, but then you're in the whole situation where you're like, I've got this extra heat that was in the steam, but now I need to take it back out of the steam so it can turn back into water, and then I can pump the water back down to the bottom.
So you can't build a giant concrete cooling tower and like in real life.
You kind of could. Like, if you had, like, the top steam engine just go into a passageway, and then you just, like, put a metal wall in the passageway and just, like, ran cooling fluid through that wall, you could probably get the water to condense on that wall and just drop down to the bottom again and then get heated back up, theoretically.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, again, the whole problem with that system is just, like, it's a lot of stuff that you need to build all at once.
Yeah.
Like, you can't build this in parts. You just
you're building a power plant.
you have to build the whole thing in one go, so you're spending all this heat, essentially. You have to forge all this steel to make the steam engine and all this other stuff.
Yeah, how do you bootstrap an entire society?
Yeah, until you can actually run this thing. And then you have to hope that you've built it correctly, that it runs permanently. So, I might get to that at some point.
And in closing, I might get to that at some point.
I'm still, going towards oil.
Right. Yeah.
Oil seems to be the next temporary solution. And I think I've also, using these things that destroy heat, I'm still thinking of other solutions, because the fact that I could theoretically take, like, natural water from the slime biomes that spawns at, like, 40 degrees, and I could potentially just pump heat into that until it reaches 90, then put it through the electrolyzer, which just sets it back to 70-degree gas. And because gases retain... I mean, technically, you're getting the same mass of gas as you do liquids, but because the specific heat capacity of gas is so much lower, you're actually deleting even more heat than it appears just from the temperature change.
I'm getting a massive gas.
Yeah, you sure are. Always.
Sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. There's definitely solutions that could keep this alive for longer. But I don't know if I'll need them or whether I can just rush to solar or something. Solar doesn't even generate that much power. It seems like a lot of effort for not much reward, to be honest. And you could also, theoretically, if you wanted to... Another way you could solve the steam problem with the steam power plant is one of the most basic type of rocket is steam-powered. So you're essentially just firing a whole bunch of steam away from the asteroid, which, that's a way to manage heat. Or if you really wanted to waste resources, you could just start venting shit into space. You just, fill a room with something you don't want, pump heat into it until it's really hot, and then just open the doors. So be like, bye!
Sure, why not?
I was thinking about, there's a chlorine geyser on my map near my base where I'm just like, chlorine isn't really used for that much, so maybe I could just use chlorine as, pump that chlorine into a room, heat it up, and then vent it. But chlorine has such a terrible heat capacity, it's barely worth doing. So yeah, that game continues to be kind of complicated.
But that's exactly what you want, isn't it?
Problem solving.
Do you reckon it's a problem that has, is it one of those... I think I may have asked this last week or whenever, but, do you get the feeling this is one of those games that you're going to have a, I've solved it moment?
Maybe.
I mean, it's still early access, so I guess they're going to change it enough along the way that that's not a problem for now, but...
The trouble is, I think the problem with coming up with solutions in this game is, you can... If you go and even just look at any YouTube video, there's a lot of, solutions... It's a matter of, how much you want to exploit game mechanics.
Right.
Because you can just, if you build, a door... If you build 4 doors where, each door opens sequentially... So that, there's always one door that's closed. That just deletes gas because the doors crush it and it can't go anywhere because the other doors adjacent to it are closed. So you can theoretically just delete stuff by just opening and closing doors. And it's do you want to exploit that game mechanic? I mean, you could. Or you can use doors as, a pump by essentially just opening doors in sequence and it just shoves fluid along instead of using an actual pump, which could be theoretically less power. So yeah, there's solutions where it's just do you want to do it this way? It's kind of an exploit, or do you want to try and make something that's less exploiting but not as good? Which is what I've mainly been trying to do. I've been trying to come up with my own solutions rather than looking for the weird glitches, and then having the typical problem of implementing those solutions where it's just I'd like to build a new room for my electrolyzers, but that would require building a whole goddamn room for my electrolyzers. It's a big project that will take several days and a lot of resources, and I'd still have to have my current one there, and then after I built the new one, I'd have to disassemble it and reconnect all the piping and everything. Kind of awkward. It's one of those situations where once you build a thing once, you're kind of reluctant to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a lot of effort. So yeah, there's that. I played a little bit more Lethal League Blaze just to get through the arcade mode with every character. Get that not so that difficult or anything.
Oh, is it not?
The AI in arcade and story is easy.
Okay, because I don't know if I talked about it last time on the cast, but I went and played some of the original and found it calls it challenge mode, but it's basically an old school arcade mode.
Yeah.
With a set progression of characters. And it's I found that really difficult to get through because you've got limited lives as well, and it's unlimited continues, I guess, and it's could just be that I suck, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's a little easier this time around.
Yeah, I think they've because like I said, you can set the AI to what is clearly a higher level in just versus matches.
Yeah,
the AI in the story probably only goes up to 4, but you can turn it up to 7, and then it gets actually competent. So they've obviously chosen to kind of limit it in the story in arcade. And I haven't... It's another one of these situations that sometimes happens with small games where they just don't... as we talked about in the video, they don't explain quite a lot of mechanics.
Right, yeah.
In the tutorials. Just hidden things that you may never know. But there's also all the unlockable skins and stuff, they don't tell you how to get them.
Oh, okay, right.
It's just they're just there. It's
yeah, because I guess I've noticed when we watched it, in the first game, there's just an experience bar basically. Yeah. So the more you play, the more you get.
Presumably some of them are still locked to that because you don't get that experience bar unless you're playing actual online matches.
Oh, right, I see. So maybe some of them are ranked or
Yeah. Or just basic level progression, not rank. Just XP. But then you definitely do occasionally get the skins unlocked where it's like, you get some of them in the story, and, the first one I saw, it just seemed to be like, okay, I just got that for doing this one specific story mission. But then sometimes, I think there's been I caught, a glimpse of someone saying, you have to do this one specific story mission in a specific way. It's not even just winning. It's like winning in a certain way in this one specific story mission that unlocks this specific skin. And I'm like, oh, how are you ever going to find that out? Unless you just look it up. Kind of disappointing.
Really obscure. Things that perhaps should have been marked in an achievement or something like that.
But at least I got the Handyman Straitjacket skin.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we're all good. It's the only skin that matters. Actually, I quite like the Robo Latch skin.
So have you been doing much online then?
No, I haven't actually played anything online. I thought about it for a minute, but then I was like, no, I don't want to get any better at this.
Oh, okay, right.
This game needs to be our multiplayer party game.
Yeah, I guess.
For now, at least.
A bit of me wonders is how well that would behave in co-op, because presumably 2-on-2 is a match option, is it? Is it
Yeah, I think so.
So so say I had a copy here and we ended up sort of 2-on-2ing it, whatever that would be.
By the looks of some of the videos I've seen, it looks like you can probably do essentially private matches, and it still gives you the XP at least, probably not rank.
Oh, okay.
So if you did have it, we might be able to at least grind that up. I don't know.
Yeah.
See what it's like with any amount of ping.
I mean, yeah, that's going to be either make or break it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Be surprised if they haven't based it upon some sort of fighting mechanic, fighting game rollback system. Or...
I mean, theoretically, it shouldn't have. I mean, with the way the release bar goes up, that should be fairly easy to synchronize.
Yeah,
because you don't actually need to synchronize it to the player who just made the hit, because he can't really do anything apart from parry, I guess.
Yeah,
only the receiving player needs to worry about the actual precise timing of the release.
Yeah, so maybe there's some. But then, actually hitting the ball once it's launched is possibly the issue.
Yeah, maybe. Although once it gets to high speed, it's probably not. I don't even know how that game works in terms of hit zones, but when the ball's going super fast, presumably the hit zone just becomes quite a large area of the map.
A big line, yeah. To the point where maybe it's actually easier as the ball gets faster at some point.
Maybe.
But, yeah. Yeah. Still hella fun, though.
Yep.
I noticed that Naganuma song's now on Spotify.
Oh, sweet.
Ain't nothing like a funky beat.
So the more you listen to that song, the more you realise that it's basically one of the songs from Sonic Rush.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally basically the same song.
It's pretty similar to what you need in many ways, but I still love it. I love that whole soundtrack, actually. Yep. It's all pretty great. Was it Big Nick?
Yeah.
Is it I especially his track's pretty great, but especially the one he did for Lethal League 1 is even better.
I think you can unlock that.
Can you?
The second,
awesome.
I think that's one of the unlockable tracks.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of the unlockable stuff, there's 2 tracks in the track list that are theoretically unlockable, but they aren't even available to unlock. And I'm like, how do you unlock the ability to unlock that?
How do you? Is this just you need to do a certain action in order to reveal the achievement, so you can then get the achievement?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
Weird.
You can't even just unlock them. I mean, I guess is technically what the skins are like. You can see where they would be in the list, but you haven't got the ability to actually purchase them until you unlock them. But for the music tracks, that's even less hint of what you might need to do. At least with character-specific skins, you might have a hint that it's something to do with playing with that character.
Yeah, maybe.
Because so far, all the skins that I've seen have been that, I think.
Sort of tied to your performance with that guy.
Yeah. You get the Robo Latch skin in one of his story missions. You get the basic workbot frame for Switch in his story mission, with where you fight a basic workbot frame. Surprising. You see that skin in the mission, now you can have it. See, that's how it should work. But it don't. That's the only one that does. So there's that. I don't think I actually really played anything else again.
All right.
Apart from Rocket League, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Rocket Pass coming to a close. Oh, this
not this week, next week, isn't it?
Coming up,
yeah.
double drops.
Oh, really?
For the last week of Rocket League.
Excellent. Well, I've hit the level cap anyway, but
but presumably double
get
drops.
Me some painted stuff.
Double drops, when they say double drops, presumably applies to the generic
standard stuff,
not actually the pass.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's not double XP, which would be for the pass.
Still get me some painted stuff while I'm there, though.
Well, yeah, sure. Get the extra levels of Rocket Pass.
Yeah.
Maybe you get an extra key.
Maybe
if you make another 10 levels.
That seems a little unlikely, but maybe.
Well, you made 70 not that bad.
Yeah. I'd always played a lot of Rocket League, but it means now, like, and the Rocket Pass was nice for giving you a bit of a motivation. But I'm now kind of glad it's ending, so I can have a little break. I think.
Well, how much of a break though?
Have they announced what season 2 is? Or
I don't know if they have, but it kind of sounds like they might be rolling into it quite quickly. It might be like the regular seasons where it's like it doesn't have that long a gap between them.
No. It should ever get.
Well, I'm sure it'll be like a week at least. As much gap as that is.
Start it. Give us a month off, and then start it. Crimbo Limbo. That'd be good.
Yeah, and I'm definitely hoping that for the next Rocket Pass they put in more varieties of things that can be painted. Because now that I went through the Rocket Pass and I've just been getting loads of those painted things, there's 4 different things and I've just got so many of them. Like that car body, I've got like fucking 20 of by now.
Oh, jeez.
God damn ridiculous.
Because they trade up at least, or are they like?
No, I think they're locked. I'm not even sure you can player trade them.
Can you destroy them?
I don't think there's the ability to do that in Rocket League, is there? I think you can just dump items. You probably could. Yeah, I imagine you can't trade them up because they're special tier, aren't they?
Yeah.
That orange coloured item.
Premium, well, not premium.
Yeah, whatever they call that. I forgot.
Event tier or something. Yeah.
So you probably can't trade them up. Player trades, I don't know. I think they might be time limited locked, maybe. I don't know, I didn't actually see it. But
Or so they might unlock after the event?
Yeah, they might eventually become tradable. But who would want them? Because presumably there's a million billion of all of these. Because everyone will have them.
Can you put them on the store, trading cards?
No, it's not a Steam-enabled store. I mean, the only ones of those that would be worthwhile are the white ones, right? Because everyone wants the white ones.
Too many bloody white teams.
Not the white teams. I did see someone.
In fairness, I wouldn't mind the white one, because of the whole glacial.
You won't, sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I did see a guy the other day who had
4 green ones.
Had a full-on watermelon car. He had the watermelon wheels and the watermelon topper, and his car was green and red on the blue team, I guess, because that's the team you can do that colour on. But yeah, it was like, he's full on watermelon.
Is there a watermelon skin? Or
I don't...
What did he use as his skin?
I think there's a zebra pattern, which would probably look quite
watermelon-ish. Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe I should try that on my car. Because I've got the watermelon wheels and I've got the watermelon aerial, but I haven't got a watermelon topper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're missing one more part.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any suitable boost, though. It's a classic problem.
I think I put the pie lattice on, but that's kind of horrid, so I might take that off.
Pie lattice can be okay if you do the colours right.
Yeah.
Because it has
It doesn't look right in the happy salad green and red, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You don't want a green pie. It's kind of gross.
Ew.
Yeah. Well, it's not that it's even like...
Well, it doesn't fully change the colour.
No, it
only
tints
the filling
specular,
of the pie.
I guess. Yeah. And some of the specular lighting on the pastry is weird looking.
Shine.
It's weird looking.
Yeah, the pie skin is weird. It's unusual, even for unusual skins, in that it has colours that don't change because of the pie crust being essentially pie colours all the time.
All the pie.
Pastry coloured at all times.
Oh, yeah. Melton Mowbray certified.
Not even that kind of crust.
No. Not even. It's not that brown.
No. Not nearly brown enough for a pork pie.
Brown.
Right, and that's it, I guess.
Cool.
Game over.
Rob, it's your go.
Game on. I finished Spider-Man.
Woo!
Got to the end of that thing. It's real good, and it ends pretty damn well, has to be said.
That's good to hear. Doesn't peter out.
Ho, 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 I mean, it does contrive itself a little more towards the end. In that, I think, one of my biggest problems with this game, and actually one of its biggest strengths, is just how comic book dumb it is.
Yeah,
most of to the point where I'm trying not to be spoilery here, but
please try because I want to play it.
There's a segment towards the very end of the game where science literally happens in minutes.
Yeah. Science happens.
Science and manufacturing that game seems to take no time at all. The time period in which this whole thing happens and in which how things progress is nuts.
You think it would be okay if it was like Batman, because he has the resources. He could probably make manufacturing happen real fast.
I feel like Batman's already got this stuff, most of the time.
Because he made it already.
Yeah.
But because it's Spider-Man, who's just basically just a guy.
He's a scientist guy.
Sure, yeah. But he's not a super rich dude.
He's not rich, no.
No, he's not rich, no. But in fairness, yeah, there's only one bit of science. Well, it's actually, no, that's a lie. There's definitely a couple of bits of science where where Peter sciences something up in an instant. And it's just sorry, what?
Comic book science.
How did you do that?
Yeah, well, he gets the spider powers, and then he invents the web fluid or whatever.
Sure.
Within about 2 days or something.
Yeah. Somehow makes the perfect material. Spider silk material.
That has all the properties he needs, yeah.
And he comes out with a tiny vial in his arm.
Yeah.
Magic. There's a bit of that, and it is kind of weird. And just the timescales in this game make no sense whatsoever, really, when you start analysing it. Which is only made more of a problem by the fact that they call out, that they're going for this, it takes place over a sort of fixed period of time thing in a couple of places.
Right.
In one place in particular.
Actually,
in one place in particular, they address it directly, and it's cool in that part of the game. But then as it goes on a little bit, it's what they did early on is kind of shat upon. It's just it's what you did there was really clever, but it makes no sense now. Given what you do later on, I will stand by my earlier criticism from the last couple of weeks, I suppose, where that E3 thing, that was a bad call. It really was. We saw stuff from the sort of ramp up to the final act of that game, kinda. So it's that stuff on the raft is 2/3 of the way in.
Yeah, fine.
And it's that's too far. That's too far.
Agreed.
It lessens the impact of that stuff considerably. I don't think the story is without fault. The time thing and stuff like that, and the science contrivances aside, there are things that I wished they had finished a little more. There's some weird loose ends. Some of it's intentional, and I get that. There's some very obvious sequel baiting going on. And it's that's fine, I can deal with that. But there's just some details about the plot where, especially after the ending, where it's just oh, you didn't resolve that then, and we're just carrying on. All right. As if we're going to carry on as if that's not a problem. It's odd. I would have liked to have seen a little more done around some of that stuff. And I won't be specific here. But all in all, these are nitpicks and what is actually a pretty solid package.
Solid game.
I'm somewhat. I do want to go back into it. I'm 100% it because I haven't got a great deal left to do. I've got some crimes and stuff to do. Basically, just mop up the map kind of things. I've done all the side quests and stuff like that, and it's. I'm pretty tempted to pick up the DLC because I hear that's good as well. Not massive stuff. But, basically little side missions is what they're adding through it. And there is a new game plus mode for playing it in a harder difficulty, but with all your abilities.
Oh, cool.
And that sounds like it could be fun. Because I don't think there's a way of replaying the story missions. So, if you want to go through it again, you've got to go through it again.
From the beginning, yeah.
Or at least as far as I've noticed. It's just and a bit of me kind of wants to. If I do pick up this nice new TV, then Spider-Man is one of the poster children for 4K HDR. Really, it doesn't run native 4K, but it does run at a higher res on PS4 Pro, and make good use of HDR because sunlight coming through buildings. So yeah, I might hold off a little bit until I've got a screen on which to view it at its maximum splendor.
Super screen.
Splendor. Yeah, highly recommend. Might be top of my list of stuff I've played this year so far. But yeah, there's still some big hitters that I want to play. No, I'm not going to get around to all of them this year. It's just not going to happen.
No.
It can't happen now. It's too late. I started playing Onrush.
For some reason.
It's free.
It's on Game Pass, yeah. So it's not
relatively free. Anyway.
Not totally free. So yeah, I re-upped on Game Pass to give that a go. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's got a lot of ups and a lot of downs, is what I'd say. And it's like I like the like. So I was interested in this from day one, right? The moment it came out and the moment the sort of idea was levied, it's like I kind of thought it was smart to take Burnout's aggression-based like takedown mode, I guess, but then make an entire game around it instead of around racing, and then layer on team racing mechanics on top of it. So there's actually a reason to sort of perhaps strategize in this not racing bundle of cars. And it's like, oh, this seems like a really decent idea. And for the most part, it works. It's like I think the biggest complaint you can say, like Rob review time, the biggest complaint you can levy is that perhaps that core concept is just that little bit too simple, right? So the game is split into 4 main modes, all of which take place within the Stampede. So the Stampede is basically like the bundle of cars, basically, and they're never allowed to really drift that far apart. If you get too far ahead, you start getting handicapped, and the game tells you to fall back.
Right.
If you get too far behind, the game will put you back in the action, effectively, with a nice little indicator that says, hey, we're putting you back in the action, just teleports you into the middle of the bundle again. So it's like, it's not about being first, it's not about being last, it's doing your job in the pile. And every game, like it's all based around like heavy car handling, Burnout style, I suppose, and boosting as much as you possibly can. And the game modes reflect around that. So the simplest of which is Overdrive, which is literally you score points as long as you are boosting. So it's about making sure you score boost and taking down other players so they can't boost, or using your car abilities so they can't boost. So that's another thing. Like all the cars are broken down into, there's 4 distinct like weight classes of cars, like bikes, buggies, cars, and then sort of truck-like things.
Right. Yeah.
Which don't really handle all that differently, other than like their ability to take down like heavier classes have a much easier time taking down the lighter classes.
Yeah.
But they all every vehicle has slightly different abilities within them. Like something like between the 2 bikes, for instance, one of them has the ability to slam down to the ground, creating a little shockwave that will put cars in a vulnerable state, making them easier to take down. But that's on every single landing they do creates this. So like while you're super vulnerable yourself because you're a bike, you're possibly making other vehicles around you quite vulnerable. So maybe that's a suitable option. If you're the blade bike, however, it's like you don't have that. You have like your like passive, I suppose, is pretty rubbish, because all it does is like every time you die, you create a little symbol on the map that if someone hits, they get blinded for a while. And it's like, so that's right. It's sort of like it's almost encouraging you to die, which I don't like. It's like an ability on death is kind of rubbish. Unless it's like Martyr in Call of Duty, where you pretty much always kill the guy that killed you. But then you got but every vehicle has an ultimate as well, like just like so, which I think the Rush is the Rush, as they call it, is pretty cool, because it's like you press it, you get like a sudden metal scream and some music goes behind it. It's just like, so everything goes very bright and whooshy, and you get more speed, and it makes you easier to take things down, and the whole game's going wah, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah.
From a production standpoint, it's pretty cool. Most of the time, though, those Rush abilities are kind of rubbish. Is the one problem. So the Blade Bike has a great one, because it's got creates a Tron trail behind you that damages cars that hits it. It's like, oh great, that's a nice obvious one. Tron Bike, cool. Others are a bit more like the other bike, for instance. Its ability is kind of rubbish, but kind of useful in overdrive mode because it drains boost out of the enemy cars, and they can't use their boost whilst they're being drained either. So it might be useful if you're about to lose a round to try and drain as many people as you can to stop them from scoring points at the end of an overdrive round. Some stuff like that. So the whole game is based around these sort of mechanics. It's where it starts to fall apart for me is kind of a core part of it, which is like how the car... The classic problem with Burnout, how does it figure out who took down who?
Right.
And how does it decide when you're wrecked or not?
Yeah,
and it's like
the binary decision of wreck time. Yeah.
Because it feels 50-50. Like, so it tries to set up some basics to be like, if you've hit someone with the front, if you're the one hitting a car and you're hitting someone with the more front part of your car, I suppose, then it will give the hit to you, meaning the other player gets damaged or gets put into a vulnerable state of taking that, which seems great in principle. Except it doesn't always seem to work that way. Oh. Like, there are times where I've literally been the aggressor and it's gone, oh no, you've been hit. And it's like, sorry, what? Like, how did that happen? It's like, I slammed into the side of him with my bull bars on the front of my ridiculous truck and somehow I've taken damage. It's like, how did that work? And I think it has, like, some of the Burnout problems as well. Like if you, like, I don't know how much like of the online of Burnout you really played, and it's like it was mostly fine in single player, right? Because the game was super skewed towards you being in the powerhouse in single player.
Of course, yeah.
But when you're in multiplayer, it's like it's even. So like if you get hyper aggressive and you slam into someone really hard, you're almost always going to immediately die yourself straight afterwards because you've put yourself in a compromised position, slamming the other guy out of the way.
Right, yeah, of course.
So it's like, because you've gone out of your way to drive dumb, it's like the game doesn't do anything to help you out afterwards.
Unlike in single player, where it kind of puts you back on track. Makes you invulnerable for like 3 seconds.
Exactly, yeah, it helps you out in some way. And I'd want to be rewarded for getting a takedown in some way. And it's like, and this doesn't have any of that. Whether you're playing in like single player or multiplayer, if you hit someone and you take them down successfully, and you're then put in like a horrible position, it's like, well, I'm still like the impact doesn't bounce you back most of the time. Like you've hit someone and you'll just keep going, meaning you're likely to hit the wall. And this is where the wreck mechanics come in. It's like just the standard wall stuff where it's sometimes it feels really hypersensitive to being like, I don't know, Burnout I think was quite lenient at times with letting you like scrape around walls and stuff like that. It's like I think like in Onrush it's based on sort of almost like an angle of collision. Right. But if you just like tap it just that little, but it's a very fine angle before it suddenly decides this was a scrape versus this was a hit that's going to kill you. And so sometimes that feels really unfair. And it's and that's always going to be a problem with a game of this design, I suppose. If you're going for this sort of semi-realistic physics feel to it, clearly ripped from, it's Evolution Studios, now owned by, or were owned by Codemasters before Codemasters got rid of them.
Well, what were their?
They're from MotorStorm.
That's right.
Originally, they then went on to make Drive Club.
Oh, right.
Before they were dropped by Sony.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then they made this for Codemasters. And then Codemasters dropped them immediately after the game came out. It's like they've had a pretty rough run of it. So overall, like, I'm saying a lot of like up and down stuff about this, and that is generally how I feel about this guy. I think it's very up and down. But that's not to say it's bad overall. It's like it is. I'm having fun with it, and it's drawing me in to just have another quick match and stuff like that. And it plays a lot better online than it does in single player, I think. But just because of the behavior of people compared to the behavior of the AI, I think it is much wilder, shall we say, in multiplayer, which also highlights some of its problems more aggressively, but also makes it more entertaining. Like, whether or not you can actually play it well or tactically or to the Overwatch level of class decisions that the developers wanted, I really don't think that that's there. It's just madness. It's like there's not enough of the strategy stuff. There's not enough of the like team stuff, I suppose. It's too easy to just play it solo and hope everyone else does well seems to be the real strategy here. Like, I guess you could do stuff, but the game doesn't really force you into that. It makes me wonder, like, right, if you took the core concept of it, if they hadn't been so wedded to this idea of making it like MotorStorm, but will do things differently, and say they'd gone in like a sci-fi direction and like made the abilities ridiculous, like some of the vehicles have an F-Zero style shoulder barge that just goes like bash, and it's like that would be cool.
Yeah,
like,
you were saying.
Like, what if some of the weaponry stuff was like literally I'm going to shoot forward in a few seconds, I'm going to put a big marker on the floor so the enemy had better get out of the way, otherwise I'm going to murder them, and it would just like jump forward in like a super abrupt, impactful way.
More like an anti-grav style or a kart style.
Sort of, yes. You've got to be more strategic of how you use your abilities. But
it hasn't got this effect.
No. I mean, all the cars you kind of play the same way, really. There's some, like, as I say, when you're playing as the Trailblaze bike, the Blade, you might specifically decide to wait until you can get in front of people to use your Tron power to murder more of them. But, they're not all that. You don't make that decision most of the time. So, in summary, a game of good ideas that perhaps didn't stick the landing, as usual with me. But also, I think this is what murdered the studio, really, and why it didn't sell very well. It's like, I don't feel like that game should have been full price. Like,
no,
I really don't.
Look like a full price game.
There's just not enough to it to justify like the full 50-odd quid price tag that it.
No, that's just nuts. Yeah,
it's like they were clearly making like this game clearly hasn't been worked on since it came out as well, because the ranked mode still has a coming soon banner over it.
Right, because everyone's been.
That will never be done. Yeah, and it's got placeholders for what I think was going to be an Overwatch style like skin. Loot box. Well, it's got a loot box system, but but it's got like, it looks like it has got like a premium currency on screen that you can't buy. I think they were going to go into like sustaining the game through skins and crap, but that's clearly not a thing.
Right. Okay.
And if they wanted to support the game that way, they should have gone in at a lower price to draw people into the ecosystem, so they could then sell them crap. How this stuff works. You can't have both. Unless you're Overwatch.
Unless you're EA.
Yeah. Well, you can try if you're EA. People will get angry with you.
It's not stopping yet. Watch out, Anthem.
Yeah, watch out, Anthem.
Watch out, it's designed from the ground up with that shit.
Probably, yeah. So, it's fun. I'm glad I've tried it anyway. Otherwise, I think I'd be permanently thinking to myself, it's like, oh, I missed that. Like, I missed the zeitgeist of Onrush. What else have we been doing? I had a couple more things on my list. Oh, yeah. I did some of the DLC stuff for Final Fantasy 15.
The parts of it that haven't been cancelled.
Wait, there was some DLC for 15 that got cancelled?
Yep. They just decided not to do it now, apparently, because Square Enix is having some kind of internal, possibly financial trouble.
Another reshuffle.
It's like, get rid of all this. We're not doing this DLC any longer, and we're not doing something else that I don't remember what it was. It's just like...
But they did all their episodes that were planned, right?
Yeah, so at least they got through those.
And they added the Comrades mode for free, which is planned DLC as well.
But yeah, it sounds like there was several more pieces that are just not going to happen now. So
I didn't realise there was more to come, in fairness. I thought this was it.
Yeah, it did seem like, once they got the major things that seemed important. But then again, I guess you could never tell how important any one part of a Final Fantasy DLC might be.
Yeah. I won't talk about these for too long. I see what they're getting at, but they feel very underbaked. Like, because they're trying to change how the game works. Effectively, they play very differently. And I think I mentioned in my original 15 sort of finale that there were, you get a taste for this in some of the end sequences where you play as the other characters and they have different abilities and they handle differently.
And then it becomes a completely separate game where it's just a fishing simulator.
Well, was it the VR thing? One. Yeah, the Big Fish Adventure or something, like Monster of the Deep or something like that. Yeah. And so I don't think these mechanics they're not as well refined as they are in the main game, and the story is supposed to fill in gaps, and like episode Prompto I think is the one that's supposed to be the most poignant, because it's like Prompto discovering his past.
I've heard that word for a while on the podcast.
Poignant.
poignant.
I mean, it's supposed to be, but it isn't, because you know all the outcome of that storyline anyway, because it just sort of happens when you meet up with him later on in 15 anyway.
Yeah, you're not finding out what happened. You're finding out what happened, not what happened. Like, you're finding out the process, not the result.
And even then, you don't really learn the detail. It's more about his, internal struggle with dealing with who he is, which comes across as classic anime crybaby, which is, not much fun to actually watch either. And it's weird. It sets up this snowy open world segment with side missions and stuff like that, which some side missions that supposedly happen at certain times of the day. And I went and tried to do one of them, failed it, and then I didn't see another one. And it's and there's got all this mysterious currency you get out of these side missions or something that you can then build up your snowmobile to be better. For no reason at all. Why do I need a better snowmobile for this one bit of the game I can just immediately go on and ignore? It's weird. Anyway, I've got one more still to play. I still haven't done Episode Ignis.
Episode Ignis.
They're only 2 hours long, these things.
So just go through it.
Yeah. I'll do that at some point. And I'm struggling to remember what the last thing I played was.
It's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 4?
Yeah, that's the one. Because I did mention it to you, didn't I? I'm sort of mainly playing this, because it's on Game Pass, so I might as well. And also just to kind of just get a feel for because I know it's going to be the same as 3, right? And pretty much it is. It's following the same template. It feels great. The wheel support is very slightly better this time. Still looks great. I wouldn't say it looks better. It just, still looks great. But the sort of main little bit of intrigue for me on this one is just what have they done with Britain? How weird is their representation of Britain? And it should be pretty good, right? Because I think Playground are British and Turn 10 are British, right?
They are British, Playground.
So it's they should be a pretty good representation, right?
Well, cartoonified version.
Oh yeah, it's the really cliched, idealistic version of North England and a bit of Scotland.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
is what they've come
North
back
England,
with.
Yeah, borders. Right?
Yeah, to the point where the only real town in it is Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And it's and the rest of it is kind of
we knew that, right?
Sort of, but we didn't
That's what was shown in the.
That's all they had shown. Doesn't mean that was the entire world, right?
Right. Yeah, I guess.
But then it's a good. I'm thinking it's a pretty good job that they put the seasons stuff in. Is what I'm thinking, because it's that world, from what I've seen so far, just doesn't feel as varied as say Australia or Europe did.
Really,
in the previous two. It's it's country roads and big wooden well, they're like fences, but walls, right? That for some reason made of polystyrene stone. You just plow through in whatever vehicle you've got.
Stone walls, yeah.
Yeah, stone walls that are not very stony. It's lots of quaint little signposts and red telephone boxes in the middle of nowhere. Literally,
that is where
they were.
Exist.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
that's one of them. I literally found them just at the bottom of a big hill, and there's no civilization around it. There's just a road and a telephone box, and I'm okay,
that happens.
Does it?
I like how the game has some crappy BT glass telephone boxes as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen those yet.
Yeah, they're in the game. Yeah, which I appreciate.
I've only seen the red ones, but it's got wheelie bins.
You noticed the red ones. That's the trick.
Yeah,
they're red.
It's got wheelie bins.
Excellent. Good.
Accurate. And I don't know, it seems to be going out of its way sometimes to say this is British at times. It'd be the first house you get, it's it's very, very British. So what you mean is it's got a flint facade and covered in ivy or something.
So it's a little bit, but not quite as bad as Midtown Madness 2.
yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's not quite Sleep with the Fishes, mate, or any of that stuff that they always used to put in. It's got those. Weirdly though, I think it actually saves their voice cast, because now the voice set doesn't feel so out of place. In the last few games, it's it's been the Irish lady and maybe an Australian in Australia, and it's and they felt sort of weird to me. But now that it's the voice cast is almost entirely British, and still trying that little bit too hard, it has to be said, but somehow it doesn't feel quite so egregious now. And maybe that's just because it's, I don't know, maybe I think I'm a little bit worried about myself when I'm saying this, because it's like maybe I just find like the Australian versions just that little bit too. Maybe that's just what Australians are like, and so the Australians thought it was good. And now we're getting the British version, and I think it's not so bad.
We think it sounds pretty cheesy, regardless, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's pretty cheesy, but it's like just somehow not quite so painful. I don't quite know why or how. Still makes you sit through things like while they're talking sometimes, but it's not as bad. It is annoying that you can't skip the victory stuff though after a race quite so much anymore. It's like it seems to spend longer going through like, hey, you got this much influence or you made this much money. And although it is quite funny that it shows my gamer tag picture or gamer picture, like my new one with my avatar just doing a thumbs down. Yeah. Like, so when I win, it just puts it up on the big screen behind me, just going Murr. So that makes me happy. And I don't think the music selection has been quite so good so far either. Not quite so. I couldn't really tell you what was in it. Not really noteworthy. I think the one major thing that I have noticed whilst playing it is the change to having the world populated by real online players, as opposed to
Drivatars.
Yeah. So Drivatars are about if you still want to do races in like single player, which is how I'm doing most of my races per se. But like while you're actually going around the road, you've got normal traffic and you've got players, which is great because all the players are doing stupid stuff like you are.
Yeah.
So you'll see someone just trying to ramp over something just because.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure there was one guy I saw that was trying to get into a closed off area where a crowd was just to see if he could crush the crowd. And it's like, nope, you can't. But he was trying really hard. And it does some smart stuff about like if you're stationary, for instance, it's like it makes you like so you can't just be hit by randoms. Like if someone parks in the middle of the road to look at the map, for instance, you can't just hit them and it's not going to screw you over.
Yeah,
and things like that. So there's some smart little changes, but overall, it's Forza. It's still good.
Woo!
That'll do.
That'll do, lad.
That'll do.
That'll do.
How's your horse balls shrinking in cold water?
I now have horse balls.
Hey.
I didn't have horse balls before.
You had
know
a female
why?
horse?
Yes, my horse was a girl before. Now I got a new horse because I thought it would be faster, but I kind of don't want a boy horse particularly. But anyway.
You don't want to see that?
Well, that's fine. It's just a bit weird when I've been hearing, you're all right, girl, the whole time, and now it's like, you're doing well, boy.
All right, dude.
Good one, boy. I'm like, oh, it's just two blokes now. It's not quite as egalitarian as it was. But yeah, so I might switch back to my crapper girl horse. I shall have to see. Yeah, it's going well. I haven't played as much as I had last time, of course, because I had some time off to play the first time around. So yes, I reached the city, the big city, Saint-Denis, which looks amazing, of course, as with everything in this bloody game. But there is a bit like we discussed how it's going a bit towards civilization in a way that we're not sure about, right? And the main character feels the same, and there's literally a bit where he's like, it goes into a little cutscene where he's writing in his journal. He's like, well, this is the big city, is civilization and stuff. And it's like, we're a long way from open country, not sure about this. And it's like, yeah you and me both, mate.
I kind of agree.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean there isn't some cool gameplay and it isn't cool to see and everything. But yeah, I'm imagining. Also, like at this point in the story, your kind of camp seems to be basically in a swamp in like an old decrepit house, and it's like, this isn't a very nice home at the moment. I want to move on from this one, so I'm trying to get through this bit as quickly as possible. But the city stuff is a change. You can't really gallop around the city like you can like tear around in Grand Theft Auto. You basically have to like slow down because otherwise you're going to crush everyone and cause mass panic, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it works.
It works.
It works.
Is this your like on the box review? Red Dead Redemption 2. It works.
It works.
This is the game.
Yeah,
it functions.
It functions well. Yeah. So I don't know what to add really this time around. I had a bunch of stuff last time, but like, it's continuing. I'm better at the controls now,
Okay,
so I think that phase of being oh shit is kind of done, which is good.
And it only took
10 hours probably.
Right.
Yeah, but it's because of all the contextual controls, like we mentioned before. It's a case of learning what happens when and stuff a little bit. I mean, you don't have to learn if you're really keen-eyed on all of the like things switching and stuff, like because obviously everything is labeled, but still, it's not. I still screw up and like. I drop a body that I meant to put on my horse, and the usual crap like that because it's the same button. Depending on where you're standing, and the horse is a dynamic object, and so are you, and lining shit up like that is sometimes annoying.
I had this like one of the most annoying little contextual quirks I had with like Final Fantasy 15 was it's like you press A to pick stuff up off the floor, right? But A is also a jump button.
Yeah.
So quite often you'd move towards the thing, and the annoying thing with Final Fantasy is it would actually put the prompt on screen.
Yeah.
But you'd press the button and it'd still jump.
You still jump into the air.
Come on. It's got a thing.
Yeah. And it's especially annoying in Red Dead when it's like not even a press thing, it's a hold thing. Like the loot is hold.
That's to like simulate you rummaging, or
yeah. Well, it does that, and then you do an animation for the rummage, which takes at least a couple of seconds, I would say. So if you're trying to, a good way in the early game is to try and loot as many people as you can. Usually at a point in a mission where your whole crew is screaming at you to hurry up and get on with the next part. The trick is to ignore them, because if it's the end of a mission and there's dead bodies everywhere, if you go around looting at them, after a while it's like a crime, I think, to like be looting bodies, and you might get spotted and start to get wanted just from loot. So it's better to do it in the middle of a mission when that kind of isn't active. That's quite funny. Which is kind of weird. So it makes it like a risk reward thing, the looting, where you kind of have to grab a few and then get the hell out of there. Which is kind of interesting.
Surely there must be circumstances where it's fine though, right?
Oh yeah.
Just on your own and like
it should be. Yeah, you get like you have to have like witnesses to crimes. I think that was true in the first game to some extent, right? And this time you can chase them down and intimidate them not to tell on you, stuff like that, which is quite a cool mechanic. Even for murders and stuff, you can chase down the witness and do what you will.
I've heard stories of that stuff. You'll chase down someone and be like, don't tell anyone, right? Or I'll come back and I'll do bad things to you, and they'll be like, oh no, don't go, and then immediately they go and tell someone.
Right? Yeah.
It's just like, well, that was worth it.
Yeah, sure. Guess it could happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in limbo period in the story. I want to see what happens next.
It's all awkward middle chapter.
Kind of, yeah. Which with interesting new locales and characters, but also like, where is this going? I'm not sure.
You don't have a real sense for the plot. Yeah.
Well, I know the plot so far, but I don't have a sense of where it's really heading. We seem to have like run away from a couple of places, and I'm not sure what the next step is.
Right.
The guy keeps talking about going to Tahiti or Australia, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're not going there, but who knows? Maybe.
Yeah. Surprise extra chapter somewhere where it's just like a little short little mission somewhere random.
I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, but no spoilers. Obviously, I don't know yet, but
weird.
Yeah. Well, GTA 5 did that with its excursions to snowy place. Yeah.
Sudden little extra mission. Because we felt like it.
Yeah. As if the world wasn't big enough already. Yeah. Yep. So that'll be me for this week, I think. I don't think I want to elaborate too much, unless you've got any questions on the gameplay.
Yeah, it's tricky because I don't know really what to ask, because it's because it seems so big and so open ended. Like the detail of how it actually works seems like a difficult thing to actually question. Yeah,
it's kind of fun to talk about the detail, but it doesn't really tell you about the actual game. I don't know. It's really cool because there's so much of it and to talk about and stuff, but. Like they're just it's all just filling in the world. It doesn't really affect the experience that much.
I guess one of my it's a bit of a concern, but like is any of what you've described, any of what you've been doing so far, like some of the slowness of it in places, like, and it's intentional not to be running around everywhere or charging through town or stuff like that. It's, like, there's any of that actually just straight up become tedious so far? Like, are there mechanics that you just wish kind of like, oh, all right, now I've got to go do this?
Well, it's mainly like on a second by second level rather than a minute by minute level. So like sometimes it's like, oh, I know this animation is going to take 2 seconds, rather than, or like, it's slightly annoying that you can't move a tiny bit faster in the camp. Right. Like, it's just one thing. It's like, if you've woken up in your bed in your camp and you want to go to your horse and go on a mission, sometimes you don't want to wade through treacle just to get to your horse.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it works really well. It's just like, you're like, over to the horse.
Is this just because you're in the swamp? Or?
Well, no, but there's like an invisible area which is like the camp area, and as soon as he walks out of it, he starts sprinting.
This is interaction zone.
Yeah, there's a treacle zone, which is kind of annoying.
Phoenix needs to put his hand to his ear to listen to a radio broadcast, but while we do it, we're going to trundle.
Yeah, basically, it's like that, except with everyone in like dynamically wishing you a good morning. Right. And you're like, you could responding and stuff, but it's like, get to the horse. Yeah. But there's usually something to do, like in the camp, like, and you're like, oh shit, I should probably have done that. Yeah.
Got to skin this deer.
Yeah.
What were you eating?
No, there's a dude who does that for you in the camp. Good. You just have to bring in the deer and he'll do that.
It'd be funny if every time you walk past him, he's saying something like John Marston used to say. Well,
John Marston's in the camp.
I know, but is he the skinning guy? Like, he should really be complaining every time he's cutting into something.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he should be getting lessons.
That's true.
Yeah,
that'd be funny though. Less little callback. What were you eating?
Yeah. Well, that'll do us then.
Is that a podcast?
I think that's a podcast. Time to change up the lighting on the Good Ship Saladcast from...
We've got to turn on the on air.
Oh, what? Yeah. Well, I knew we'd sort of... Because Noma was sat here at the start, and I didn't really want to just bathe her in red light.
In red light, yeah. Cool. Yeah, we have a red alert mode on the ship for on-air mode, at least. There we go. Oh, there we go. That's just my reaction so you can gauge it, listeners.
That's exactly what we were going for with the bright red light, yeah.
I think we better go back to warm lighting. I think this cool lighting is making me cooler.
That's pretty fucking warm.
Pretty warm, right.
It's weirdly yellow lighting, actually.
We're bathed in the yellow light of the not sun, and we wish you a good couple of weeks. Have we got any videos coming up?
More Half-Life coming.
More Half-Life for the 20th anniversary. Check out Robin's Eggs' hilarious commentary on the adventures of Gordon Freeman. And
Maximum Failure.
Maximum Failure. And we shall join you in a couple of weeks for yet another Saladcast.
I don't have to go to Mexico anymore. This is weird.
You live in Mexico.
I live in Mexico. I'm all Mexican all the time. You can tell from my voice.
Yes.
Bye.